All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a jam-packed show today on a Tuesday edition of the Rodcast. Usually not the case, but lots of sports stories out there to get into. We'll talk, of course, here close to home on the 40 acres at the end of yesterday's show, right at the tail end. The news broke. Kirk Boyles breaking the news that David Pierce relieved of his duties as the head coach of Texas baseball. So now Texas looking for a baseball coach, and the timing very curious right before the national title game in men's baseball. And of course, we do have a new national champion. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about all these salacious rumors surrounding the vacancy for the Longhorns. We'll also get into some NBA news because JJ Redick was officially introduced as the Lakers head coach. So we'll play some of that audio. Texas hires a new personnel man, longtime personnel man. Texas football hiring a new longtime personnel man. We'll get to that in a little bit too, and give you some of the background, his resume, and what his duties and responsibilities may be as a member of the Texas football staff. We'll get into that coming up next hour. We got all your usual favorites. We'll go behind the burnt orange curtain next segment. We'll talk about a couple of things, actually. Will Texas have a 1,000-yard receiver this year? A lot of people discussing that and projecting it. We'll talk about that. We'll also get into something I noticed about Quinn Ewer's resume, just doing some research on Quinn. And I think it's something NFL scouts want to see, something else they want to be able to check the box on. We'll get to that too coming up. We go behind the burnt orange curtain. We got your usual favorites. We got the topic for the big fat poll of the day. We got who said that. We got off the record. We got all your usual favorites coming up on the show. What the facts, what the stats. So stick around for that. But before we do, let's introduce you to the rest of the crew. He's one of the hardest working members of the ARN family. Got a hustler spirit, period. I'm not sure what he's paid, but I know the man is underpaid. Ain't no 401k for this hustler. He's a hustle man of many talents. It's our friend, co-host, and neighbor. It's Patrick Davis, y'all. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing good. I got to enjoy last night. I really didn't know who was rooting for. I don't really want the other UT, the lesser UT, or the Aggies to win a title, but it still felt nice that the Aggies didn't win one. I would just take joy in that the Aggies didn't win a title. Yes, last night, so I could enjoy that a little bit. I watched way too much NBA draft prep, and I still know nothing about what's going to happen on Wednesday.
Oh, that's the best concept. That's all the draft stuff is. Once you immerse yourself in the draft, it's just paralysis by analysis. You're like, you know what? I don't know a damn thing, but I know everything. Let's go.
Watch 50 different people come out and go, I don't know what's gonna happen.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm a mock slut, so I'll look at every mock, and I'm like, by the end of the draft process, I've watched every player mock to damn near every team. So it's like, everything is possible. It's like the multiverse.
Yeah, I mean, and this draft is crazy that you have guys like Ron Holland, the kid who was supposed to come to Texas, went to the G League. He's mocked anywhere from number 6 to like 20.
That's crazy.
Just because some people people go, well, we're getting intel that they don't really care about his, not great season. They still think the potential's there and his size and everything else. And then others people are like, no, he had a bad season, so he's going to be awful, so we don't want to have him anymore. It's just crazy. There's so many players like that. There's players that are like mocked at 12 and 1. That is,
and there's a diamond in this rough. We just don't know where it is.
We don't know which one it is.
It's like that the Jason Kelsey Super Bowl ring, the chili contest. This is basically what this draft represents. That's like, hey, there's a real Super Bowl ring somewhere among all these fake ones in the chili, but you have no idea where it is.
There's no ring. Someone done stole it already.
Also maybe the case.
Let me introduce you to my co-host. He's a proud alumni of DBU. He's got more papers than Dunder Mifflin and watches more film than Siskel and Ebert. He is the new Rod father of Austin Sports Radio, Mr. Rod Babers.
I appreciate that intro. Yeah, a lot of stuff to get into. Yes, and I didn't even mention the draft, of course, which we can dive into. You got some ideas about the draft, some crazy
We can talk more about that tomorrow, too. As we get into the actual draft. It's a day, and then Thursday we'll know who got drafted. But today, I think, that is the top story. Is we got the top story that blew up literally in our last segment.
5 minutes. In the last 5 minutes of the show.
Oh, the most annoying thing in radio when a big story breaks and you're like, we just talked for 4 hours and y'all break it in. Come on, CDC.
this could have been the whole damn show. We could have just had that
Hey,
as a show,
hey,
but no,
I'll
it's
tell you
okay.
this.
You know what? I appreciate it because that means I would have been upset if they had like hired somebody else and I'm like, damn it, it all happened so quickly. We didn't even get a chance to, kind of milk the story. Like, no. Now we can milk every layer of it. Thank you, CDC.
Yes. Hey,
Still
you know
got some
what?
time here.
Hey, at
It
least
may break here. Who knows? It may break on this show. Who knows? At the
I'll
end of
say
this
this. It may too because CDC has a record of hiring quick coaches quickly.
Oh, we can get into that too. Yeah.
He
No,
does
I'm
have that
excited.
record. He
I'm
has that
excited about
record.
this.
And I will say,
Yes.
at least we're not on vacation like some of our friends.
This is your season. This is your season, man. All right, no, just joking. All right, no, it's good stuff. All right, we got a lot of stuff to get to. We got the horn headlines, of course. My man Patrick Davis going to dive into those. And obviously, the big story, he just brought it up. We won't bury the lead. We're going to talk a lot about the vacancy for the Texas baseball team, and that is nationally the big story and the timing of it, and now the rumors surrounding who are the top candidates for that job is crazy. And the response already got a response from the Aggies head coach, Slosh Nagel. So we'll get into that too coming up. We'll play that audio. But first, let's get educated, informed, and updated on all the top stories of the day. My man Patrick Davis in the Horn headlines. Then we'll come circle back around and talk some Texas baseball.
All right. Your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas baseball parted ways with head coach David Pierce yesterday after 8 seasons with the team. The decision comes a few weeks after Texas was unable to advance past the regional round. Both Chris Del Conte and David Pierce have stated the parting was a mutual decision in statements made on Monday. Pierce was hired from Tulane in 2016 to replace legendary coach Augie Garrido and finished his time with Texas going 295 and 162, winning 3 Big 12 championships and making 3 trips to the College World Series. Texas will look to find a new head coach, hoping to find someone who can help Texas challenge in the SEC. In the NBA, the Cleveland Cavaliers hired Golden State assistant Kenny Atkinson as their next head coach. Atkinson, who spent the last 3 seasons as an assistant for the Warriors, was the last head coach from the Nets from 2016 to 2020 and was a lead candidate for the Hornets job a year ago before removing his name from the running. The Timberwolves also made a coaching move, securing their head coach Chris Finch with a 4-year extension, keeping him under contract through the 2027-2028 season. Finch has gone 160 and 127 in 4 years in Minnesota and grown a team that is now considered one of the top teams in the West. Detroit is now the only team without a head coach after firing Monty Williams late last week. In Major League Baseball, the Astros will begin their series with the Rockies today after trying to extend their 5-game winning streak. Hunter Brown will get the call for the Astros after pitching a solid 6 innings in his last outing. And the Rangers dropped game 1 of their series to the Brewers 6-3 yesterday. Rhys Hoskins hit a grand slam in the 6th inning and never looked back as Milwaukee's bullpen held the Rangers to only 1 hit in the final 3 innings. Andrew Henning will take them out for the Rangers today, hoping to turn around what has not been a great season for him as he's only 2-8 so far this year. And that is your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. So let's get right to it. The Longhorns obviously parting ways with David Pierce yesterday, and the timing of it. First of all, before we dive into any of the rumors and the candidates, the lead candidates for the Texas baseball vacancy, the timing of it by CDC, well done. I mean,
yes,
because we learned a lesson. The Lakers and the Celtics are just bitter rivals, so they always just hate each other no matter what. There's a great competitive hatred, and Celtics win a title, right? They're celebrating, and then the Lakers, that's when they want to pull the JJ Redick news out, like, hey, you know what? How about this JJ Redick news? I don't remember like exactly within how many days of the title the JJ Redick stuff happened, but it was pretty quickly, was it not?
It was pretty quickly. It was pretty quick.
It's like, yeah, you know what? Let's steal some headlines because everybody, this is definitely a big splash. Yes, your title, but you know what? Everybody expects you to win the damn title the entire regular season and the postseason. We actually going to make a big splash here, and I'm sure they could have timed it out a little bit differently, but the timing was curious. A lot of people thought Lakers, you know what? That's how you steal right. That's how you steal headlines from your rival. And when they're actually, at their peak, right? That's the zenith of the mountain for them. And yet the Lakers have pretty much made their, I don't know, they're basking in the glow of their championship. It hasn't lasted that long. It felt like we kind of shifted from Celtics title to Lakers coaching vacancy and coaching hire pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And I feel like CDC did the same thing. Now, obviously the Aggies didn't win. But I think the anticipation was that even if they had won, like he's gonna, and he did in a way, just kind of snatch some of the really snatched some of the mojo from the Aggies, because a lot of the talk right before the game last night became, oh man, Texas, and the rumors, oh, Texas is going to get one of these two coaches, oh,
Yes.
and it might be the Aggie coach, and then Aggie Nation just lost their freaking mind, and they just went crazy, and then I feel like it was intentional and diabolical, and I'm here for it. CDC, well done.
No, it was well done to put it out on the day. And I mean, he may have said, I'm going to do this Monday, so if you guys finish it off on Sunday, you get it. Well, I'll give you a shot to finish it off on Sunday. If you guys can win the two in a row, this won't happen. I mean, we'll ruin your celebration, but
I'll save it for right there. Exactly. He was gonna pull the Lakers thing, and then he was like, "Damn it, you know what? I'll wait. Anyway. I'll wait on it." He was going either way. He was going to spoil it for the Aggies. He was going to. He's like, and I think the only reason he didn't wait till after, he's like, yeah, but what if they don't win and I do it after? It's not going to be as good. This is the perfect time to snatch some headlines away from him, and also to infuse paranoia within that fan base. Let's do it. He's like the Joker on the Dark Knight, basically. I mean, at Doc Texas, I threw that out there. It's a great, and I love it. It's essentially what you have here, and I love it.
You know what? I'm not a big message board guy anymore. I was when I was younger, but it's too much in there now. Like, social media is enough. I can't go into message boards, but I'll see every once in a while people will post stuff from the Aggie message boards, and they're always hilarious. Like, we saw the one that, there was the two guys who got ejected, the two fans who got ejected for some awful taunting that happened. And then there was message boards that were basically claiming that they were UT fans in disguise.
Yes, they were plants, man.
They were plants to make A&M look bad. Stuff like that. That's just really fun. That I'm like, man, the message boards have got to be a lot of fun yesterday and today.
Exactly. It's a great point. I can't. You know what? I'm gonna have to go search my timeline to see if I did see that post too.
Yes.
Coach, I was doing a show with Coach Bob Shipley, and he brought it up. So it's made its way around Longhorn Nation. And I think every Longhorn is enjoying that. But if indeed. And we'll hear from Coach Schlossnagle, because he was asked about this. And by the way, kudos to the journalist who asked him, because it's a tough question to ask after you lose the national title. But you got to ask it, man. Everybody wants to know. It's the big story. I'm sorry. I know you want to talk about your team and your journey and how great he was. Yeah, you're right. It was a great journey. First time the Aggies competing for a national title since in a major sport since what? Like the 30s or something like that. I mean, it's been a long time since they were in a national title game in a major sport. It's been a long time. I believe CB will throw it out there. It's like 1939 or something like that. I always have a friend Ricky, my man Ricky V, softball Ricky, always says, oh man, the Aggies had competed in a championship in a major sport. Last time they did that, Hitler was still considered a cool dude. That's his favorite Aggie joke. It's a good one. It's a good one. I'm not gonna lie. It's a good one. But he can't say that anymore, by the way. Well, I guess he can say one. He can say last time they won. He can still go with a joke. But my point is, so the rumor was that Texas is going to get one of the two coaches competing in the national championship. Of course, one of them is your bitter rival, the Aggies. And like I said, if indeed this is where CDC was going, that's some Nino Brown, Kaiser Sose, Joker, Heath Ledger's Joker type stuff going on, man. So he was asked about it, Jim Schlossnagle, after the game and after he lost to Tennessee. Here's what the head coach of the Aggies had to say.
I think it's pretty selfish of you to ask me that question, to be honest with you. But I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M. I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again. And that hasn't changed in my mind. That's unfair to talk about something like that. That'd be like you asking Montgomery if he's going to sign in the draft. But I understand you got to ask the question. But I gave up a big part of my life to come take this job, and I've poured every ounce of my soul in this job. And I've given this job every single ounce I can possibly give it. So write that.
Coach, thank you very much.
All right. Thoughts, Patrick? Pretty definitive. I mean, we've seen some statements like that before, and then coaches still do what they want to do. But what do you think?
Every coaching candidate for Texas, the top ones, have all said they're not coming. And it feels like David Pierce wouldn't have been fired if that's true. Just feels that way. And again, David Pierce, they said that's mutual as well. But it feels like if that wasn't the case, then this would have happened 2 weeks ago, and the coaching search would have been on and all of that's just normally that's all the pieces. We can go into CDC normally already has his guy when somebody gets let go. Historically, David Pierce has hired guys pretty quickly after letting the last coach go.
CDC, yeah.
So we know that. So with Pierce now, it feels like he knows something. Now, that would lead me to believe that it may not be either one of these coaches in the championship game and that he's got someone else and he just kind of wanted to spoil their fun. And it was another coach that would be there. So he wanted to spoil their fun, but he had somebody else he's already had conversations with. They're ready to go. That was not as definitive as I would have expected it to be. Okay. I would have expected to be a little bit more definitive, but I think, he knows the same deal. He's pissed off. He just lost the game. He's not. I don't think he wants to dig his heels in that far either. At that point, he just wants to stop answering the question and not give them the soundbite they really wanted.
Yeah, he obviously didn't like the question. He let that be known.
Yeah, he knows that's coming
at the end of the statement.
Yeah, and in the middle of the statement, he understands. Like, I get you got to do this. Yeah, like, I get, this is your job, and this is what you're supposed to do.
He's a good guy. He's like, but I'm in a bad mood right now.
Yeah,
I was like, we get it. Everybody's walking on eggshells. So everybody understands. But you're right. I mean, it's still, like I said, it would still even be diabolical. And I said, even in a genius way by CDC, if he's got his guy already, he's got nothing to do with these two coaches in the national title game. And yet just still to spoil the party or to give Texas some free media. Hey, you know what? Let me just go ahead and do this right now. And like I said, either way, I'm all for it. I'm a big fan. And by the way, CDC has done such a great job at hiring. I'm not even really stressed about who it's going to be. That's because he's really done a good job of hiring so far. I mean, and the Sark hire was a grand slam, and most of the hires that we've seen from CDC so far, I mean, they have been really good hires. Whether you're talking, in different sports, where you're talking about softball,
Vic Schaefer,
really good. Vic Schaefer has been fantastic.
Because Vic Schaefer, that was another one where I think it was within a day or two from them letting go Karen Aston that Vic Schaefer was in Austin. So you're saying there's been a few of these ones that have been hired. Sark was not that long after Tom Herman. It was within a few days.
It didn't take long, no.
And so all these coaches it's been a very quick turnaround that he normally knows what he's doing by the time that announcement comes out. He doesn't leave Texas fans, and especially, I think more importantly, he doesn't leave the students and the recruits that long without having an answer for them, because that's really a super important part, of not, losing any of your recruits, not losing any transfers, not losing anybody like that. So he's been pretty good about that. It makes you believe that he knows who he's got. The people I had talked to, in the last 2 weeks had given me the impression that that he knew who he was going to sign, and it was already a done deal that Pierce was gone and there was a new coach in waiting, and they just had to wait till things played out. But I was never told who that was. I was just told.
And play out means like, are we just, like you said, playing spoiling like and stealing headlines, or we're waiting literally for logistically for this thing to
for
play
one
out,
of those
and
coaches.
That's what we don't know. But I'm all here for the drama. And the short list, from everything I can gather, is of course the two. Tony Vitello, the head coach of Tennessee, Jim Schlossnagle, as we just played you, the head coach of A&M. A lot of people is it Eric Bakich, the Clemson head coach? A lot of people are really high on him as well. So he's on that. I heard him mentioned on that short list too.
I've also heard Jay Johnston, the LSU head coach. He is listed on that short list as well.
So it's not a long list.
And Bakich and Johnson have both already denied that they're going to take the job. They've both been asked about it.
That's already out there.
So everyone, but I believe Vitello has denied that they're taking the job.
Oh,
but I don't know. Maybe he did last night too.
He might have too, and we just haven't caught up with it. Yeah. So, well, like you said, everybody initially,
everybody turns it.
You can deny it, and then what happens? But I will say, if it is Schlossnagle, I mean, you're talking about, that would be
nuclear heat.
So gangster.
Nuclear heat.
You're talking about your first year in the SEC, and you're gonna go steal your bitter rivals coach, the first coach to take them to a national championship in a major sport since 1939 or whatever it is, and you're gonna go steal that guy, and that would be, like I said, that's like moving into the neighborhood of your hated rival and then banging their wife. Like, that is some hardcore stuff, man. That is the athletic equivalent of hit 'em up or not like us. Like, that is like, come on, the CDC, that'd be cold blooded if that was it. I don't think that's happening. I'm gonna say right now, I don't think the Aggies wouldn't let it happen. Do you know what the psychological trauma and damage that would do to the Aggies? If that was the case, I don't think they would let it happen. I think they would pay Schlossnagle some guy. They'd pay him football coach money before they would let that happen. They just can't.
Do you think since CDC and Schlossnagle are friends that he's doing this to get Schlossnagle some more money?
Could be. Exactly.
There's going to be a little bit of CDC being like, hey, man, I know you can't come here. I know we couldn't work out a deal. Maybe we talk, but I'll tell you what. I'll do this the day before you go out, and I'm going to get you paid, buddy.
I'll get you some cash. You know what, dude? As I'm saying, but it helps him too, though, right? Yeah. It helps out CDC. He's like, you know what? I get us the headlines. Like, hey, I'm good with that. Texas wants some headlines. We can steal some headlines, some free media. So it would be kind of a quid pro quo, but I'm with you on that because his is good for Schlossnagle, even if it's Schlossnagle's agent. Who's like, nah, you know what, dude, I got you. This is good. Trust me, we can work with this. All right. Just, I don't know, who kind of started the rumor. We just know there's a connection, and CDC is a man that gets things done. To your point about Schlossnagle getting money, he made $1.3 million in 2024, according to his contract. His buyout is twice his salary if he's hired by another in-state school. Just from my man Danny Davis, who does a great job. Danny Davis also threw out there this little factoid that since 1947, just 3 College World Series winning coaches haven't returned to their schools the next season. And since 1947, just 1 College World Series runner-up coach hasn't returned to his school the next season. So it's rare. It's, to get one of the coaches from one of the teams that competes in the national title game to leave. But if anybody can do it, or any school could do it, it would be the University of Texas.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the deal is we believe that CDC's got a guy. We think that Texas boosters, and if you're letting David Pierce go, because we read off in Horde headlines what David Pierce did while he was here, that he did have 3 Big 12 championships. He made 3 trips to the College World Series in 8 years. So it's not like you're letting go a bad coach, but I feel like it is closer to that Tom Herman thing, that if you feel you've got another guy and you feel that you've plateaued at a point, it's time to go find somebody who can get you over that hump. And if you're doing that, you have to go get a big name. Most of these names other than Bakich from Clemson are names of guys who have SEC experience as well and may know what you're walking into the SEC a little bit more, where we know Texas is walking into a lion's den of SEC teams. I mean, you had 2 SEC teams in the championship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're right about that. And my man CB throws out there, always our historian, appreciate you, CB, that Tom Herman was fired and Steve Sarkisian hired on the same day.
There you go.
He said the text messages from the Horns 24/7, January 2nd, 2021, it didn't take days. It happened the same day. So to your point, CDC works quickly. So, yeah, you might get it it may happen during the show. I mean, I wouldn't doubt that at all.
If it's CDC, if you're listening, man, not at 9:55, though. Come on, man.
Get us something like 8:30. That'd be great. Float the rest of the show. But no, it is. No, it's great drama though, and I'm happy for Texas baseball fans. Coach Pierce did a good job, but obviously the program plateaued.
Yeah,
and plateaued and started to regress. And I mean, you can plateau, and then you can plateau, and then because even some people would say at one point, max teams kind of plateaued. They were just kind of at 10 wins, 10 and 11 wins, 10, 11 wins, but it never regressed. The plateau regressed.
Yeah.
Is the key.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. That's what happened to Tom. Once you get to a peak and then you regress, and then people say, oh, well, that was it. Then you look back and you go, oh, well, that was the peak. That you already peaked as a program. You took the program as far as you could go. If you do plateau, because like I said, I remember when people were like, oh man, Matt can't win the big one. Remember, he just kept from like 2000. We won 11 games in 2001 and 2002, and then Mac just kept winning double-digit games. You're like, oh man, Mac he can't really win the big one, and then boom. But there was no regression. It was just, I think it took him a little philosophical change. It took getting the right athletes, and then it boosts to the next level. So Tom Herman. Peak regress.
Well, and I mean, I think Pierce was at the same level around Herman. It's happened to a lot of guys where you start defending your job more in the whole him hiring himself as the pitching coach, and that part where you start to get so defensive, you're not making progressive moves. You're heading, you're putting a shell around yourself in the program because you're so worried that someone's coming for you. That kind of thing, it never seems to lead to anything good. There's very few stories of someone getting super defensive and then it working out in the end. And so it felt like at the end it was getting more and more defensive. The hiring of himself as a pitching coach seemed to be the big red flag. It did not work out. The pitching didn't change. They kept changing coaches every year. So, that's another part of if you bring in somebody from a winning program, you have more belief that they'll be able to put a staff around them that, works with you and your checkbook at Texas, where you say, we can bring you in a really good pitching coach. We can bring you in, we can help get you more facilities. We can help you with whatever you want, but you have to talk to us and work with us. And that's where Pierce had a falling short of not being able to work with CDC to find solutions to make the program better, help in recruiting. He wasn't a big transfer portal guy either, which, in today's game, in every sport, is more and more important. He wasn't, trying to go out. He wasn't going to get a bunch of NIL extra money, going out and working the big time boosters and getting some of that extra little juice to go out and get another player. So there was it was racking up, and you look at the names that are listed, and it could be somebody out of left field, which no pun intended, but it could be somebody.
No, it could be because Sark was out of left field. Sark wasn't one of the main candidates.
Yeah, and that was all the rumors there were that it was going to be Urban Meyer.
Yes, I'm saying Sark was kind of like, oh, and then it was oh, okay, let me think about that.
Yeah,
okay, actually, that's not bad. We'll see. And it was so it could be that. You're right about that. I wouldn't doubt that. It's not necessarily the big splash that ends up being just a very capable candidate. And remember, Sark was someone who kind of learned on the job, and Sark's someone who had a really high upside. So it could be someone like that too. I don't doubt it. But like I said, I'll trust CDC for now because CDC's done a really good job in his hires, and I don't think Longhorn fans are really stressing about it. They believe it's going to be, though. I think a lot of Longhorn fans believe it's going to be one of these big names because it's Texas baseball. You're a blue blood. You've had 3 baseball coaches since 1968. You've had look at my man Kyle Umlang threw this out here, 5 full-time head coaches from like 1911 to 2024. I mean, you just there's a certain lure with Texas baseball, and I think they want to get and a lot of Texas baseball fans, they never really gave Coach Pierce, a fair chance because they didn't like the hire.
Yeah,
they just did, and I think, and like I said, there were some Texas football fans who didn't necessarily like the Sark hire. I wasn't a huge Sark fan, but I was won over by Sark because I at least gave him a fair chance. Like, you know what? Let me see. Whatever, he's the coach now. Let's see what he does, and if he earns my trust as a fan, and he did. I mean, he's done a fantastic job. And I don't think that ever happened where he even for the ones who didn't like Coach Pierce at first or didn't like the hire, he never won them over. Sark, I think Sark, for people who didn't like the Sark hire, Sark won him over.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And you can even argue, there's some people like that at Coach Terry, right? That people didn't like the Rodney Terry hire, and he hasn't won them over yet.
No, so, he's still, he still is earning it. He's still, going into no one will give him credit for the year that he had, which I will still give him credit for, but because I watched all those and I saw the players that helped his carriers, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
But you're right that it did take a little while. It took Sark till this season.
It's exactly.
It took Sark till his 3rd season. So we'll say that, we're going into Rodney Terry. He'll be in that place. David Pierce, 8 years. You gave him the fair shake. What you ask of most programs is to give a college coach enough time to make it his program. He made it his, and it wasn't the future that Texas wanted to see long term. And so he did well, but unfortunately that's not good enough for what the standard needs to be for Texas baseball. And that's what now we're waiting. Again, the CB sent us the thing that it was in the same day that they hired Sark from
24 hours. So is it a 24-hour period here?
Wait, yeah.
When was it announced? It was announced literally like at the end of our show.
9:55, something like that.
All right. Let's see if we get the same day. Let's see if we get a same day one. That's something like that. That'd be interesting. And and obviously, some of them, not all of the coaching hires kind of work out in that timeline, but I agree with you. CDC, I think it has a tendency to work fast. Instead of letting it be a long drawn out process. And that's what we're hoping to. Okay. There you go. So that's, we'll get back to that discussion. Of course, hopefully there is some breaking news about it, but if not, we'll come back and discuss because there's so many different layers to, that vacancy for Texas and the domino effect of it. It just could be people, and it happens all the time across the industry. When a vacancy like Texas happens, a lot of raises going to happen. A lot of guys going to get bumped and extended. So that just because of the nature of the business as well. And I think to agents start driving a lot of the talk too about this kind of stuff. So I'm sure there'll be other news coming out about this if there's not the news coming out about the Texas head coaching vacancy. All right, we'll come back. We'll get into we'll just talk some Texas, but we'll get Texas football. We'll shift a little bit, go behind the burnt orange curtain. We'll talk some Texas football. They did make a hire on their staff. We'll talk about that more in the next hour. Coming back, though, I want to get into some actual football conversation. Something I noticed about Quinn Ewers' resume that I think NFL scouts would like to see more of. We'll see if we can jump into that. And also, will Texas have a 1,000-yard receiver this year? Something they did have last year, and Xavier Worthy was his first 1,000-yard receiver, 1,000-yard receiving season. Will they have one this year? People think if there is one, it's going to be Isaiah Bond. I'll tell you what I think about that. I'll give you my thoughts about that. All of that and more when we come back. This is the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Austin is a great city. It's one of the reasons that the the traffic situation gets even worse, but that's okay. As the city continues to grow and expand and thrive, so do our friends over at Ironworkers Local Union 482. Many of the iconic landmarks that make this city so unique were actually created and built by the skilled craftsmanship of Ironworkers Local Union 482, like the Pennybacker Bridge and DKR Stadium. They don't go to the office; they're the ones who actually build the office. So if you're looking for an exciting employment opportunity or a refreshing career change, or you want a new challenge, or you want to feel valued by your employer, you can become a valued member of this prestigious organization, Ironworkers Local Union 482. And right now, it's the perfect time to do it. They're hiring over 3,000 people for a huge project right here in Central Texas. They're offering competitive wages, competitive benefits, a pension plan. They even offer training for unskilled labor through their apprenticeship program. So right now, it's a great time to become a member of Ironworkers Local 482 and take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that helps shape the future of our great city. So go online today and apply at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into some Texas football conversation. We talked a lot of Texas baseball. We'll get back to the Texas baseball conversation, I assure you. I want to talk about the passing game a little bit. We'll get to Quinn, but I want to talk about the receiving core. I heard a conversation. I believe it was JD Pickle talking about Isaiah Bond and how good he thinks Isaiah Bond is, and Isaiah Bond's going to have a breakout season. And I believe he predicted that Isaiah Bond was going to have be on the verge of being 1,000-yard guy for Texas as a receiver. And I thought about it, man, that's a lot of yards for because Xavier Worthy was really productive, and last year was his 1,000-yard season, so it can happen. But if I'm going to predict that Sark's going to expand the circle of trust of wide receivers, that this is going to be the most wide receivers in rotation for Sark since he's been at Texas, and that would include Bond, of course, Jonte Cook, who looks really good in off-season workouts, but that's one thing. But he's in that conversation. Then you got Golden. Then you got Bowden, and Golden. Those two guys, Ryan Wingo, who we've talked about being a prodigy, hell, just physical in terms of physical traits and physical gifts, he might be top 2 or 3 best wide receivers you got right there. These are just physical tools. He's still young, doesn't know the system as well, not a refined elite route runner yet. That takes nuance and that takes time, but so just physical freakishness and physical gifts. I mean, he's one of your top wide receivers. So he's a prodigy. So when you have a prodigy, you play him. That's just the reality of it. Xavier Worthy was a prodigy. You play them no matter how young they are. If they're good enough, they're old enough. So I think Ryan Wingo's going to play. I think Bond's going to play. Cook's going to play. Golden, Bowden, DeAndre Moore. That's 6 right there. And I'm not even counting other guys. I mean, that's 6, I think, legitimately. Early on, I definitely will see time. That could shrink. All right. He could shrink that rotation. That circle of trust could shrink for him by conference play, by midseason, if some guys underachieve and then you see them, blowing assignments, not making the right site adjustments. They don't have the right chemistry with the quarterback, drops. That could always limit guys playing time, and then Sark could shrink that. But I still even think that if he shrinks that rotation, he's still going to heavily have 4 to 5 guys. I think you may get, that 6 guy, whoever it is, DeAndre Moore, whatever. I think that may get shrink down. I'm not trying to disrespect him. I'm just saying, maybe Sark doesn't want to play 6 receivers, but I think he'll play more this year than he's played before. And whether you have 1,000-yard guys step up, it's going to be tough because Sark believes that running backs are the most underutilized weapon in the passing game. So running backs are going to get theirs. You know that. I will say this: you might get some more target share from the tight end position, because I don't know if the tight end position is going to get as many targets as it got with JT Sanders here. It could, but if I'm predicting anything's going to shrink offensively for Texas, I do think just maybe for this season, just because of the complexion of the roster and the construction of it, I think it's tight end potentially, because you're deep at the skill positions at wide receiver and at running back. Tight end, just unproven. I like him right now, but he's still it makes you predictable because he's not going to be in there as a blocker. He's not a good blocker. Gunnar Helm is a good blocker, but then Gunnar Helm is not the matchup nightmare in the passing game that Amari Niblack is. So they almost make you predict. You can cover Gunnar Helm one-on-one. You can trust a linebacker like, hey man, can you cover him? Like, I got it. If you got an athletic enough linebacker or athletic enough safety, you can do that. With JT Sanders, that wasn't always the case because of his contested catch ability, his ability yards after the catch. Even though he wasn't a speedster, he had some other elite traits physically. And Amari Niblack's elite trait is his speed. Gunnar Helm, who I think has great all-around skill set. I don't know if he has an elite trait as a tight end. And then Sark's recruiting those kind of guys. My point is, I think if anything shrinks, it may be that group, the 12 personnel, and then you use more exotics like your pony package we've talked about ad nauseum, the Big 11, Big 12 with the extra offensive lineman, because you're exceptional at O-line too, right? That's one of the deepest positions you have, and you're deep there, so why not play an extra offensive lineman and take another tight end off the field? So I think that's just this year you may get, and I'm not talking about shrinking to the point where it's not still the second most utilized personnel package. I just think it shrinks just a little bit. They shave some off of it instead of it being 35 to 40% of your of 35% of your personnel usage. It's 25% of your personnel usage. You know, and then you supplement that with other stuff. So I will say that I'm leaning right now. You don't have 1,000-yard receiver. I don't know if you could, but I don't know if I don't know if you get a guy that's that productive. Maybe Isaiah Bond is that productive, but you've only had 11,000-yard seasons in Texas football history. 9 players do it, and before Xavier Worthy did it, I believe Devin Duvernay was the last one to do it in 2019. It didn't happen as often as you think. It, on the 40 acres, well, guys, 1,000 yards. He's got a lot of great receivers, but they don't all get to 1,000 yards as a receiver. Now, some guys have done it. Help Jordan Shipley and Roy Williams did it twice. Xavier Worthy did it. Little Jordan Humphrey, Devin Duvernay, as I mentioned, Kwame Cavill, John Harris. Remember John Harris back in the day? He did it. Wayne McGarity, I think, is in that conversation too. He did it, but like I said, it doesn't happen as often as you think. Right now, I'd bet against it. You bet on it, Patrick, or bet against it? 1,000-yard receiver for Texas this year.
I mean, I'm going to bet with it because I think that Sark is a guy who likes to target one guy.
He does.
And so I think in that world, I'll say I bet for it because I don't know who it is. I know Isaiah Bond is the favorite, but if that builds, but it could be Wingo as well. I think it'd be one of those two guys that whoever gets that relationship with Quinn, Sark is going to use that a lot. You'll see games where one of those guys will have 150 to 200 yards in a game at some point this season where they just keep going to him and it works all game and they figure out a mismatch and they're able to go to it. So I would bet for it just solely in the fact that Sark is a coach who historically has liked to have his guy. He is not necessarily the spread that he'll spread around a little bit, but we know, he's had guys that we thought were going to be used a lot more and they just never really got the targets. And, they'll get a few, but not a ton. So I could believe that he would, even though it does spread out a little bit more, that he would have his guy and at least one guy would be able to get to 1,000 yards, not hugely over it, but it's the same concept of 1,000-yard rushers where we never think that there's going to be that. And you keep looking at the running back core and then somehow it pops out that somebody gets it again.
And that's also why I don't know about you having 1,000-yard receiver this year.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have the reps and he's going to run it. Sark wants to run the rock. He's going to run the rock. He doesn't like to abandon the run. But I can see with a veteran quarterback, them throwing more on early downs and deciding, you know what, now we're going to we trust Quinn. It's essentially a long handoff. We trust Quinn. So they do stuff like that and you get some, because I think Xavier Worthy, his first 1,000-yard season was 2023. Like you'd have thought in 2021 with all that production, he got to 1,000 yards. He didn't, and he didn't do it in 2022. You can be really productive and not get to a G.
Yeah,
not get to 1,000.
And I'll say this: I think that it not happening is probably a better sign for Quinn Ewers.
Why he's spreading the ball around?
Because I think he's going through his reads better. I think he's not forcing the ball as much. If that's the case, I think if he finds one receiver and he's just trying to force the ball there, which is what we've seen him do, which is Xavier Worthy in 2023. Which is forcing the ball to one guy over and over again. I think it's a better sign for Quinn probably if there isn't one because he's hitting a bunch of guys. Because I don't think the offense is going to be stagnant. I think it would be more an issue of him going through his reads. They, defenses adjust in the SEC a little bit better to it. They get on guys that they want to, stop. And then you find your next target and you work through games like that. So I think it could be a good sign if there's not. But I'll still say I think there is, which is not a terrible sign. But I just think Sark likes to go to guys. Like he likes to find his hot receiver and go to it. And so whether it is Bond or Wingo, my guess would be one of those guys.
Yeah, no, and I know Sark at Alabama, he had the 4 first-round wide receivers, and they all were productive. And I'm sure you had 1,000-yard receiver, at least 1,000-yard receiver among that group. But yeah, you had Devontae Smith, of course, was the 1,000-yard receiver among that group in 2020. When Sark was there. And I think in 2019 they had one as well. But I'm thinking this wide receiving core that Texas has could even be he had 2 of them. Judy was a 1,000-yard receiver in 2019, and so was Devontae Smith. So, but that I'm not saying Texas won't have one of the greatest offensive of our time, but that is one of the greatest offenses like in like the last 25 years. So if it's that, that'd be awesome. But like I said, it could happen to Isaiah Bond. Right now, I'm just thinking they're going to spread it around a lot more in game to game. You have different guys step up, but we could see and think about you playing a different level of defense too.
Yeah.
Than you were playing in the Big 12. It's a different level of defense you're going to be going up against. But you will play more games. Well, we hope.
Right? That is true. Yeah,
so if they go deep in the playoff, then yes, all bets are. That's why Alabama had those guys too. I mean, they're at 1,100 yards, something like that. It'll say, well, Alabama's playing more games than most.
You play in the SEC championship game, and then you play in the playoff.
And then they play in the college playoff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They were doing that year after year. So I guess you get one more game than everybody else, or two more games than everybody else. So Texas this year, theoretically, if they don't get a bye in the first round, like if they can play in the SEC title, maybe lose the SEC title game, not get a bye.
Yeah, I don't think we need to. Let's not worry about those stats, Rod.
yeah,
take a bye.
Right. I'm not going into that. But you get my point. They could end up playing 15 games. You know what I mean? They could end up playing 13 with the SEC title game. They could end up playing 15 games, something like that. So yes, if you play 15 games, you get you 1,000 yards. So no, I guess I kind of talked myself into it that it could be one. You'll have one potentially, but right now I'd probably bet again. I think it's a pretty even bet too. I gotta Sark throughout his time has force fed a receiver he really likes and showcases that receiver. Doesn't mean they're not going to spread around. Other guys are going to get played, but this year Isaiah Bond seems to be the guy they're pointing to be that 1,000-yard receiver. Be interesting to see if that's the one that Quinn gravitates toward.
Yeah, because we know, and it's such a small sample size because it was really, really small. They were both in the game, but in the spring game, they didn't seem to have that connection. But it's also, that's such a small sample size. You having a whole summer to work on that and get that better. My guess is that was a wake-up call, at least a little bit, to both of them to be like, no, we look bad on the stage. Let's go fix that and go work on it during the offseason. So,
yeah, and I'll say this, and I'm not saying Texas doesn't. How many first-round wide receivers does Texas have on the roster now? Probably two. I think Ryan Wingo has that kind of talent. Isaiah Bond projects that way.
Yeah.
I mean, with Alabama, you had 4 on the roster. So it's even though I know people like to make that comparison, it's not necessarily the same thing, just because I do think that overall, like the ceiling of those players was a little higher than the ceiling of the receiving core that Texas has, even though Texas has really good players. I do think it's a little different, but yeah, I mean, you could get 1,000 yards. Either way, I do think Texas passing game is going to be explosive. We're just talking about whether you're going to get to targets that are going to be, more isolated toward one player.
Yeah, and you're also talking about Quinn Ewers. Can he get the ball downfield enough that you pick up those chunk plays, as opposed to trying to get enough targets that you're getting him on 15, 20-yard plays, as opposed to 60-yard plays?
Yeah, no, you're right.
Because that's a good point. It's a real easy way to get to 1,000 yards.
Yes,
is,
no doubt.
4 or 5 60-yard catches, 70-yard catches. It boosts your stats up real quick.
Explosive play rate will be huge in determining whether, and that's another thing you see at Bama too, when they had, those multiple 1,000-yard receivers, a lot of explosive plays coming with that group. All right, we'll come back. We'll get into the topic for the Big Fat Poll of the day. We'll also dive into the musically themed day of the week, one of my favorites, all that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers, coming back on the Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let me tell you about Dr. Greg Ecker, Dr. U, as I like to call him, and his fantastic team. First time I actually went to his office, it was a funny story because usually I go to the dental office and I have a little bit of dental anxiety, and I'm sure some of you out there have experienced that. And I went there, and first thing that I saw when I walked through the door was a lady, and she was crying. I thought to myself, see, this is why I don't come to the dentist's office very often. And once actually we found out what was going on, turns out she was crying tears of joy at the dentist's office. She had been given the smile she had always wanted. She had never seen her smile look so beautiful. She had always been insecure and always been, a little unhappy about her teeth, so she didn't smile a lot. And she looked at her smile, brand new smile given to her by Dr. Eckert and his team, and she was brought to tears. Yes, tears of joy in a dental office. It happens. It happens with Dr. Eckert. So he can do the same for you, by the way. Give you a brand new smile in just one day, permanently secured to your dental implants. No time spent without teeth. You get temporary fixtures until they can complete your permanent smile, and then you'll smile again with confidence and eat freely without pain or discomfort. It's a lifelike permanent solution. So if you've been told your teeth need to be replaced, just call Dr. U today to learn about this revolutionary alternative to dentures. It's a brand new smile in just one day. Sounds too good to be true. It's not. It's just Dr. U. It's a complimentary consultation, so you got nothing to lose but so much to gain, because a confident smile can truly change your life, and Dr. U wants to change your life for the better. But even if it's not to get a brand new smile, it can be just for general dentistry. I go there to get my teeth cleaned. I've been there to get wisdom teeth removed. I've been there to get fillings. Doesn't matter what your concerns are about your dental health or dental hygiene, you're in great hands with Dr. U. General dentistry, teeth whitening, dentures, porcelain crowns, veneers, dental implants, full mouth reconstruction, even root canal therapy, whatever it takes to make sure you're getting the best quality dental care available. That's what Dr. Eckert and his team are all about. So give them a call, 512-345-3166. That's 512-345-3166, or visit dreckert.com, DRUECKERT.com.
Back on the Rodcast here on a Tuesday, and that means it's a top of the charts Tuesday where we take songs that were number one this day in history and play them for you all show long. And Rod, I finally done it. This is a can't believe their number one hits top of the charts Tuesday.
Oh.
I could not find a bunch of, there was not enough of a songs to have a really great top of the charts Tuesday, and there were some questionable ones on there. So we are going with very questionable number one hits today on the top of the charts Tuesday.
Whoa. And this
starting out with Sukiyaki by Sukiyaki. That was a number one hit in 1970, I believe.
Man, what were they doing in 1970? This was a number one hit?
Number one hits.
I mean, nothing. I mean, as a song, it's saying like people jam this stuff. Like I can say,
yeah, no. Wow. Apparently, this was just jamming all day long.
Back in the day. Thank God for Motown. What is happening? All right.
So yes, this is our
can't believe. I'm glad you did. I can't believe you, man.
So we'll get through this. Stuff. We'll get through today, and you'll see it. Then hopefully I'll play you somebody a song, and somebody on the text line will get pissed off and be like, "That's a banger, man.
That's a banger. That's my jam right there. That's my jam." Oh man, I'm glad you're doing this. This is actually this is one of my favorite days of the week so far that we've had, because I've been waiting on you to do this, because I was like, man, some of these number one hits are strange, and you said, hey man, there's some really bad ones.
There's
Now we
some
get to
there's some
hear 'em.
ones that are very questionable,
So
and so
very
that's what
questionable. Not bad. You're right.
Yeah.
Not bad. Questionable. I like the way
because
you
they
put
were
that.
number one hits. So
Yes, you
somebody
can't
thought they
say-
were great.
Yes. No, a lot of people did.
So
you go.
yeah, and so I'll just
I
go
like
to
that.
questionable number ones to show you that when I go through and pick these songs,
I love it.
they're not all winners. They're not all winners.
Oh, that's
Right,
great.
let's get to Big Fat Poll today. 512-447-3776 is the text line number.
Patrick's Big Fat Poll of the day on the Horn.
You might be able to guess what the question is. The question today is, who will be the next head coach for Texas baseball? That is the poll of the day. Who do you guys think will be the next head coach? We have to do it now because by the end of the show, there may be a new coach. We don't know.
You're right.
CDC
You gotta
acts
get it
quick, so we have to get it in. I'll tell you who I'm putting on the X poll. So we do know that a couple names I'm not putting on there is Jay Johnston and Eric Botchich, the LSU coach and the Clemson coach. Those are both names that are on there. But the fact that they weren't hired already, it feels like they would have been hired already when they got eliminated, that you would have done that before the finals. You may have not waited.
Yeah, you're right.
So I'm going to take them off. And so we're going to put two names of the head coaches that were in the finals, and Jim Schlossnagle and Tony Vitello. Those two guys with Tennessee's coach and A&M's coach are in there. A name that's somewhat of a wild card, but a name that is around the program, and people have said, is Troy Tulowitzki.
Ooh.
That could if something else either fell through, or they'll say that it was their number one choice the whole time, and maybe it was, that the recruits really like this guy. They want to give him a shot, that Troy Tulowitzki could be the name. Calling him up. No coaching experience, but that's not a prerequisite in today's world anymore.
No, not at all.
So Troy Tulowitzki, he's been a part of the staff, but not a head coaching experience, we should say. And then I will just throw in the fourth choice is going to be other. So I will throw in you a choice of it's not going to be either one of those three. It's going to be someone else. So you could throw in the Jay Johnson or Botchich or somebody else you believe, and then throw in our comments if you like who you think the next Texas coach will be. But tell us on the text line as well, 512-447-3776. Who do you think will be the next head coach for Texas baseball?
Oh, yeah, that's good, man. It's a short list, I think.
It seems to be.
Guys. I think it's like 5 guys on that list pretty much.
Because you say that, we had a listener point out that the transfer portal closed last week. And so if you say the transfer portal is not, you're not being able to hit the transfer portal as well. It seems like if it's anybody else, you would have hired them already, right? So
seems that way.
Troy, though, is already on the staff, so it's not as much of a shift that you could have already been doing some things behind the scenes, and he's still part of there. So I'll throw him in there. And then the two coaches that were part of the tournament. And it could be another coach easily, but it would seem more likely that you wouldn't have waited if those guys were ready and you had them ready to come in. But, the inner workings of this and, the deals and agents and all that, it could have just taken a little bit of time as well. But that is your Big Fat Poll today. Who will be the next head coach for Texas baseball?
Yeah. Said it's the hot topic, I think, even nationally. And that whatever it is, the rumor mill is, and oftentimes truth can be stranger than fiction, but it seems like the rumor mill is kind of taking this thing over, and it is the most diabolical of possible options for the Longhorns. A lot of Longhorns fans actually believe it. Some fans that I know, usually are pretty rational about these things. They've gone right onto the grassy knoll that, oh no, it's happening, and we'll see if it does. I don't think the Aggies are gonna let it happen. If that's no way. It's just they would pay some absurd amount of money. They just would not let that happen.
Oh, and if anybody wants to send us on the text line any message board fodder from the day of Aggies losing their mind, because Texas fans would be losing their mind if this was going the other way too. I get it.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
I'm just saying
but it would never happen in Texas. Well, no. I'm not saying that in an arrogant way, but you get my point though.
I do. It just came across. It came across so well.
Yes, that man, that's stuff that now, because Texas doesn't have to worry about that. But for the Aggies, this can be really traumatic, man. This can be really traumatic. No, I'm telling you, first year of the SEC and they doing some stuff like this.
I'll tell you this: if that happens, if it does, the ramped up talk of we're leaving the SEC will happen immediately.
No, they're not gonna get that wrong.
No, the fans will.
Yeah, the fans will.
The fans will be like, screw it, screw Texas.
Yeah.
We don't ever want to see them again. Let's go to the Big Ten. We're going to the Big Ten. Screw everybody.
That'd just be yeah. Like I said, I can't see it happening. That's just too wild, man. That would make CDC the ultimate. That the ultimate gangster move. Everybody around the country would be. He's already considered the best AD in the country because of the Directors Cup, and now you're gonna pull some stuff like this. Oh man, I guess that would be that. That'd be made man status at that point. That'd be dead. That's a different level of diabolical genius. All right, we'll come back. We'll get into, of course, we'll stay with that. That's the hot topic of the day, and the topic for the big fat poll of the day. We come back. We'll get into this hire Texas made. They hired a longtime personnel man. Texas football did. We'll talk about what that means, what his role may be. We'll also hear from JJ Redick. He was officially announced as the Lakers' new head coach. I'll get thoughts from my man Patrick about his demeanor and the way he presented himself to the media for the first time. We'll talk about that too coming up. And Rod's rant of the day. Who are the best man beaters in the NFL is something that matters. And the best man beater in the league actually is really close to home. We'll talk about that. All that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn. Rod Berry is coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a top of the charts Tuesday. That's when my co-host, the Idealionaire Patrick Davis, comes up with comes up with all the music theme days, but he takes jams that reach the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. And this specific, even deeper theme to this top of the charts Tuesday is that it is a questionable number one overall hits. Questionable. Top of the charts, top of the charters, if you will, chart toppers, I should say. And that was the Candyman. Who sings the Candyman?
Sammy Davis Jr.
Sammy Davis Jr. Okay, yeah, all right. And then the premise of the song is it some hidden message?
I don't think so.
The lyrics, he's actually just got.
I think
candy?
he's just singing, giving candy to kids. Just telling kids,
but that's creepy. That's kind of creepy.
Take candy from strangers, kids.
I was gonna say that's kind of creepy anyway. But maybe back then you could, they didn't have the saying back then. How long ago was the Candyman song?
This was in the 70s.
Oh wow, this is okay. Dang. 70s, man. I thought they had better music in the 70s. And so I know
they did, and that's why it's disappointing.
It's like, how did this get all the way to number one, the Candyman? But I'm not saying obviously it's not a bad song, because you said it's questionable how it got all the way to number one. That's what we're questioning. All right, there you go. Top of the charts Tuesday. Yes, back when you can make songs about giving candy to kids and it can hit the top of the charts.
Yeah, the songs about candy now are not quite the same, are they?
No,
it's like Candy Shop, 50 Cent,
Lollipop. Like, no, they you don't want your kids listening to it or talking about any of that stuff.
What my milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. Get that one in this.
That's not the milkshake that the kids need to be talking about at all. Nope. Exactly. See, very different. And it just, it's like 50 plus years. That's how music has evolved. That's why I asked if it was. You see my mind. I'm like, is there a hidden meaning about?
I don't think so. Man? I don't think so.
It's just he was.
I haven't deep dove into Sammy Davis Jr.'s The Candyman
and the lyrics and stuff.
No, I have not.
No, it seemed like it seemed like it was pretty straightforward. That
because once you have the kids in the song, it feels very wrong to have it have a second meaning.
This was a great point. Yes, we canceling Sammy Davis Jr. if that was the case. But you're right. Yes, I think it's for the kids. So maybe this is a song for kids. Maybe that was it. You know what I mean? Like maybe it was literally a song for kids. Like that.
I think that's it. I just don't know.
Like Disney songs and stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Kids love like Disney songs about the movies. So maybe it was like a song literally meant for kids. And kids, they loved it so much. That's why it rose top the charts, because
they made their parents listen to it over and over again.
Yes, dude, candy is currency when you're a kid. I mean, that's like money. That's like cigarettes in jail type stuff. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like that's currency when you're a kid. You could trade all kind of stuff for some good candy. Remember when the ice cream man would go by, how crazy kids are running after the ice cream man, and he just has a damn song that literally is luring kids to his truck so he can buy candy from him. Anytime you got money as a kid, you'd buy candy back in the day. Kids still
candy, then ice cream. You hear the ice cream truck.
Oh, I said ice cream truck.
The ice cream truck.
I never got ice cream from the ice cream man. I always got candy. Okay. The ice cream truck had candy too. It always had candy. They always had a candy spot, so they always had the candy right there too for the ice cream man. So I always just bought candy, Fun Dip, Nerds, buying stuff that my mom was like, "Oh hell no, you ain't eating that." That
was when you had to go watch your siblings play games at the rec league. You have to go watch your sibling play a soccer game. We're like 5 or 6. And they're like, "Can I go to the concession stand?"
Yeah, go to the concession stand.
And then they'd be like, "Go get some nacho, get something with some substance to it," and you just come back with 4 bags of candy and be like, "I got nothing that's gonna help me."
Chips. Be like, I got some chips. These are nacho flavor. Nacho flavor chips. I love those. I love those little cheap nachos. Texas high school football game nachos.
Yes.
I don't know if I can still do it because I'm too old now.
I know.
But I don't know if a 43-year-old Rod B can do
this is the
Texas
problem.
high school football nachos like I used to.
This is the problem. What I found of that kind of nacho the last time I did, which has probably been to several years, is I don't eat them as fast as I used to.
So
it used to be you just eat them and then it just the cheese turns into hard. Yeah. And you can't do that.
Yeah,
and then you sit there with a sad little box of
that's not good.
Solidified cheese and stale chips.
Oh, come on, man. Don't describe it like that. Now
it's just juicy jalapenos. Just
and don't get a little chili on in it too. Like somebody put a little chili in there. Oh man. Now you're right. Your window is you got about 7 because it depends on how cool it is outside.
It is that true.
Football game.
Yeah.
If it's real hot, you're all right. But if it's a little cool, if it's later on in fall, close to winter time, oh no, you ain't got long at all. Them nachos, you got about 5 minutes. You better jump on it. Boom. And it did take me long back. I haven't done that in a while. I will not eat Texas high school football nachos anymore. Probably it'd be bad for me and everybody involved. All right, let's get to the topic for the Big Fat Poll of the day, and then we'll jump into the horn headline. So first, Pat, let people know what the topic is for the Big Fat Poll of the day.
Big Fat Poll of the day today. Who will be the next head coach for Texas baseball?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that is the biggest topic of conversation among Longhorn fans. We'll get back to it. We started off the show talking about that. And yes, the salacious rumors surrounding the candidates, possible top candidates for the Texas head coaching vacancy for the baseball program. So we'll get back to it, of course. So go check that out. We'll get it posted to X as well at the Horn ATX. You can go check that out and you can contribute. But in the meantime, go to the text line 512-447-3776 and you contribute to the conversation on the text line. All right, let's get. We're going to get into a couple of topics here on the other side. JJ Redick was officially introduced as the head coach, so we'll hear from JJ Redick a little bit. Also, Texas hired a new a longtime personnel evaluator, and he's a scout, and I think at times has been an on-field coach, Bill Rees, and we'll talk about what his role could be for the Texas football team. But first, let's get updated, educated, and informed on all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn Headlines.
All right, the Horn Headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas baseball parted ways with head coach David Pierce yesterday after 8 seasons with the team. The decision comes a few weeks after Texas was unable to advance past the regional round. Both Chris Del Conte and David Pierce have stated the parting was a mutual decision in statements made on Monday. Pierce was hired from Tulane in 2016 to replace legendary coach Augie Garrido and finished his time with Texas going 295-162, winning 3 Big 12 championships and making 3 trips to the College World Series. Texas will now look to find a new head coach, hoping to find someone who can help Texas challenge in the SEC. In the NBA, the Cleveland Cavaliers hired Golden State assistant Kenny Atkinson as their next head coach. Atkinson, who spent the last 3 seasons as an assistant for the Warriors, was last a head coach from the Nets from 2016 to 2020 and was the lead candidate for the Hornets job a year ago before removing his name from the running. The Timberwolves also made a coaching move, securing their head coach, Chris Finch, with a 4-year extension, keeping him under contract through the 2027-28 season. Finch has gone 160 and 127 in 4 years in Minnesota and grown a team that is now considered one of the top teams in the West. Detroit is now the only team without a head coach after firing Monty Williams late last week. And in Major League Baseball, the Astros will begin their series with the Rockies today, trying to extend their 5-game winning streak. Hunter Brown will get the call for the Astros after pitching a solid 6 innings in his last outing. And the Rangers dropped game 1 of their series with the Brewers 6-3 yesterday. Rhys Hoskins hit a grand slam in the 6th inning and never looked back as Milwaukee's bullpen held the Rangers to only 1 hit in the final 3 innings. Andrew Henning will take the mound for the Rangers today, hoping to turn around what has not been a great season for him as he's only 2-8 so far this year. And that is your Horn Headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn Headlines. All right, Bill Rees is now a part of the Texas staff. He's a longtime scout and personnel man at the NFL and college level. He is a former on-field assistant coach at UCLA, but also worked in the NFL. And most recently, he was on the staff at Notre Dame as a personnel in the personnel department at Notre Dame for more than half a decade. So he's been there. He also worked at Wake Forest with Dave Clawson at times, and also was recently on the staff, like I said, at Notre Dame as well, but Wake Forest is another school that he was at. He was also at the NFL level with Kansas City. For 16 years, he was in the NFL. He was with Kansas City. He was with Chicago. He was the director of college scouting for the Bears. He was in regional scout for the Kansas City Chiefs. He was director of college scouting and director of player personnel for the 49ers. He was also the director of player personnel and college scouting for the Cleveland Browns. And he actually had multiple stints with the Kansas City Chiefs because he went there as well as a college scout for the Chiefs too. And then, like I said, he was on the staff at Northwestern at one point, on the staff at Notre Dame. So he's coached at the college and the pro level. So, and I believe he's going to probably come in here and add. And Texas has a general manager now, but remember they lost Bobby Merritt. He left Texas personnel department to become the general manager at Rice. And there are a lot of people that believe he's going to come to Texas and fill in that role. He also coached at UCLA. I don't know if I mentioned that. He was a recruiting coordinator at UCLA actually from like 79 to 94. So he was so he was at UCLA. Then he went to the NFL for a little while. And then he went to the Northwestern Wildcats. Then he went to Notre Dame. And actually before that, he went to Wake Forest. So he's been all around. I mean, this dude is, you talking about a guy who's been coaching, scouting, and recruiting for 40 years, basically. What it kind of looks like, just trying to piece together his resume. And it's actually hard to find his resume. It ain't easy. Like usually somebody's resume like this is just kind of out there.
Yeah.
You kind of got to piece together. He's got some blank spots in his resume, which means he takes time off or he's going to study something. But I mean, he started in 1976. He was a graduate of Ohio Wesleyan University with a bachelor's degree in history. And that was 1979. And then he basically kind of jumped right into coaching. His collegiate coaching career began actually as a grad assistant in 76, right when he graduated. And then he went to become an assistant coach for Northwestern in 1978. And basically that's when his coaching career started. He went to UCLA in 79. Was at UCLA from 79 to 94. And then from UCLA, then he went to the NFL. That's when he starts his NFL scouting career, because he goes to the Kansas City Chiefs from 94 to 97 as their area scout. And then he goes to the Bears from 97 to 2001, the director of college scouting for them. And then he stays actually with the 49ers. I take the back. Well, to the 49ers. And for the 49ers, he's with them as director of college scouting, director of player personnel, and director of personnel and college scouting for them. And then after being with them from 01 to 04, he goes to the Cleveland Browns from 04 to 08 and becomes basically director of college scouting for them, and then goes back to the Chiefs for 08, 09. And then I believe that's when he jumps back to college, is in 09. Because then you have him, I believe he goes to either Wake Forest or Northwestern around that time. And then after that goes to Notre Dame. And that's, I believe, the last stop for him before coming to Texas. Like I said, I'm piecemealing it. It ain't just one. It ain't like Wikipedia. It's like, oh, this always you gotta go find it and gotta go find where he's been, which I don't mind. But he's been a football guy, scouting, recruiting guy for, we're talking about going on 40, almost 50 years. That's a lot of knowledge.
Yeah, and that's, it's nice to see a guy that, if you want to take the positive out of it, it's somebody that doesn't necessarily have to have the name value in the mainstream and have that. And he's good enough. He's working for those types of programs and being able to consistently find work for that amount of time. That is usually means good things.
His son is Tommy Rees, who was the Alabama offensive coordinator and now is, I think he's a Cleveland Browns tight end coach, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that's where he is now, but that is his son. So this is a guy just a long football. So I think he's going to be just on. Texas has a general manager now. That's Brandon Harris. I think he's just going to be on that staff, and he's probably, honestly, I wouldn't doubt if he's given the title exactly what Bobby Merritt was with Texas. And except he left to become the general manager at Rice, and I think he could do anything. Honestly, that's a guy who's been around football this long. There's really nothing he can't do. You can put him in recruiting. You can put him in scouting.
Yeah,
you can put him scouting opponents because he scouted for the NFL. So if he was scouting college scouts for the NFL, he could scout your opponents for you if you want to do that too. Or you can do self scouting. He can be transfer portal. You just put it, hey man, I need you to look at the portal. That's our free agency, just like the league.
Yeah.
Go find us portal guys. I mean, there's like 6 or 7 things this dude with his kind of resume can do for you. So I understand just bringing him on. We don't even know what the hell he's going to do. Just come on. We'll find something for you. We can figure it out. Yeah, that's something you can help us with. 50 years of coaching experience, NFL, and at the highest levels of college football, Notre Dame, Northwestern, Wake Forest. Those are good programs, and programs that have had success actually recently, especially in the time that he's been there. Talking about Notre Dame, Wake Forest, and the Dave Clawson's taking a huge step as a program and a culture. So there you go. Texas bringing in Bill Rees as one of their new personnel coaches or personnel members of the personnel department. Not sure exactly what he's going to do, but he's scout. He can be, like I said, recruiting coordinator for you. He can get into scouting opponents, transfer portal, a lot of different other stuff. All right, let's hear from JJ Redick because he was introduced officially as the Lakers head coach, and I think there was a certain swagger that I think he wanted to project because he knows everybody's going to call him out about him not having coaching experience.
Yeah.
So I think the question is in here. So here's the first clip of JJ Redick speaking to the media for the first time as the Lakers head coach.
What misconceptions or concerns about you that you've heard in the last few weeks are you the most looking forward to dispelling when you're the coach?
It's a valid question, and I've certainly heard everything. It's been a really interesting 6 weeks or so, just in terms of being part of the engagement farming industry. It's been really interesting. However, I don't really have a great answer for your question because I really don't give a honestly. I want to coach the Lakers. I want to coach the team. I don't want to dispel anything. I don't. I want to become a great coach in the NBA, and I want to win championships, and I want my players to maximize their careers. That's all I care about.
All right. Patrick, what are your thoughts early on? Hey, I don't get the engagement forming is actually a shot at somebody too. I just don't know.
Well, I mean, I think I think he's
right?
in it. He's kind of saying I was part of that.
Yeah,
I
was
podcasting.
But I think it's a shot also at the people that he's worked with in the industry. It's
like
I don't really like that kind of stuff, guys. That ain't really what I like to do. I'm about ball. No
one likes the fact that you have to sit there and go, well, what did we talk about? Well, we talked about David Pierce. All right, let's find a salacious title that we can put on this that we can get
you
clicks.
Don't think so, Patrick, but some people do.
No, some people are good at it.
Some people like it. Some people actually like it. I think some people actually like it. You're right.
A lot of people don't like it.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think he's basically saying I get what the cycle is because I've had to do it because I know what my videos were titled when JJ Redick had the podcast, and it wouldn't be titled something saying it would have worst player in NBA history, and then it would be about a guy that wasn't great, and so he understands what it is. But I think that you have to walk into that locker room with your chest out a little bit, because if you come in too humble, you're not necessarily gonna. I don't know if that team's gonna respect you enough, and everyone's gonna be on board that you're ready to do this. And so you're not saying I'm gonna be the greatest, but you're saying I don't care. Let's go win games. And that's kind of what the players want to hear. And JJ's always been that guy. Like when he was on the teams, that's if you hear everybody talk about him, that's kind of the player he's always been, is someone who understands what his role is and will go out there and take care of that business.
I don't know. I don't listen to JJ Redick a lot, and I haven't. I've heard some of his stuff on the podcast. So I wish I'd heard more interviews with him as a player. Has he always been that demonstrative? Has he always been that I don't know, boisterous as a player? Was he like that too?
Yeah, you got to remember this. If you go back in the day, he was one of the most hated players in college basketball when he was at Duke. So he came from at Duke being a guy who would walk into it and didn't care and was all about making your day worse.
Good. As long as he's being genuine, authentic, as long as that's as long as that was in him and he's not putting some fake.
No.
As long as that was in him, that's good.
He's been that guy since college. I don't care what you think. I get it. I'm a white guy who's a shooter. I'm gonna go shoot lights out and I'm gonna go win games, and you can talk about it later. He's kind of always been that, and so that puts you into why he felt okay going into podcasting, why he could quickly go into announcing and be calling the finals pretty quickly into announcing. All of those pieces come together.
He's got the skill for those things.
But you have to have a swagger to be able to walk in and not have those places be too big for you. why he could, LeBron calls him to a podcast and they do it, as opposed to, I'm sure LeBron's talked to other people about doing things and it doesn't necessarily happen. So I could see that there's something to be said about what he's done in his career. I don't think that is at all disingenuous. I think that is very much who JJ Redick is.
Yeah, no, I know, because I know you watch a lot of basketball, college and pro, so I know you've gotten exposed to more JJ Redick as a player, and now like as a member of the media, and then now obviously as a coach. So that's good then. Okay, so getting back to LeBron, speaking of disingenuous, I do think that he was being a bit disingenuous with this answer. I believe the question is contained here in the audio. Here's another clip of JJ Redick, I believe, being asked about his relationship with LeBron.
That you have a very close relationship with LeBron. He could have done a podcast with anybody in the world. He chose to do it with you. What was his advice to you throughout this whole coaching search process?
He didn't provide any advice. LeBron and I did not talk about the Lakers job until Thursday afternoon, about 30 minutes after I was offered the job. And that was very intentional on both our parts. I knew I had an understanding that he did not want to be involved in this. And for me, I didn't want to go down the path of hypotheticals with someone that I consider a friend and someone that I have a great amount of respect for. So for us, it just came down to literally Thursday afternoon. And I talked to him for about 15, 20 minutes and got off the phone. That was it.
Oh man, I love the groan in the background. Was it in response to him saying that he and LeBron didn't talk about it?
It can't be.
You sure the timing is perfect?
The timing is perfect.
No,
I like it. There was a thing when Rich Paul was answering questions the other day and asking, answering about Bronny James and all of that, and when Bronny James was getting critiques for not doing workouts, and he was saying, well, this is what I do with all my clients because we want to get them the best possible scenario. Mm-hmm. And we find that there's a way that they can pick them apart, not find the best of them and blah, blah, blah. He was doing all that. There was a part in there where they asked him about if Bronny was, if the Lakers still, if the LeBron wanted the Lakers to draft him. And he said, LeBron's not worried about that. If LeBron was really worried about that, we would have just walked into Lakers and told him to draft him. And they would have drafted, I think he said we would have made them draft him. And it was one of those slips where you see it, and then everybody goes, whoa. I thought you said he couldn't do that. I thought you said that wasn't done. Yeah. And then you just said, we can do that. Oh, no, we don't do that, but we could. We could. Just let you know.
Slip. He said the quiet part out loud.
He said the quiet part out loud to try and disprove something else. He said the quiet part out loud about that. So there's that, and again, you should have talked to LeBron.
Yes, you should.
It's not wrong to talk to your superstar and ask him. The Mavs, when they re-sign Jason Kidd, should make sure that's cool with Luka first. Whoever the Spurs do when Greg Popovich retires, you should talk to Wemby. You should talk to your superstars because it is a players' league. And one superstar can make or break your team. It's why you talk to your quarterback in the NFL. You don't have to take their advice, but you got to talk to them. They got to be involved in the conversation. And so with the fact that he just goes, no, I'm not. Never even heard of it. I don't even know the general manager's name. Never even been in the same office. It's so silly. And I get that JJ could say, well, me and him didn't really talk because JJ Redick maybe stayed out of it a little bit more. But at a certain point, you feel like LeBron and him were texting at least.
Come on, man. Exactly. And y'all do a podcast together, and now y'all about to actually work together. Come on. Y'all talked about it at least.
You talked about it.
Come on. You talked about
it. I know. It's very much the LeBron narrative of, I don't want to seem like I'm maneuvering everything, yet I'm maneuvering everything.
Yeah, exactly. He said that too. He was like, it was very much intentional, us not talking about it. And it was like, so y'all definitely, come on, man.
So you talked about not talking about it.
You're talking exactly. So you're talking about not talking. Something there was communication about it. Come on, how could that not be? Because soon as you get the word from your agent that, hey, the Lakers are interested in this, you ain't hit up LeBron immediately. Be like, hey, LeBron, just so you know. Or listen, I know there was contact. That's all. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I know they can't. And by the way, I know they can't acknowledge it. I get it because that would seem that'd be inappropriate. Yes. And I get it. I totally, because then we already know that, hey, you do a podcast with LeBron and then you end up getting to coach LeBron as the head coach with no coaching experience. Yes, it looks, the optics of it are not great. And so now you got to deny that y'all ever even talked, even though y'all talk on the podcast that y'all talked about the biggest story in the NBA at the time. Okay, yes. Never
Yeah.
talked about that.
No,
You know,
LeBron's one of those guys who would say a phrase like, "It's chess, not checkers." And go, "So you're playing chess?" He goes, "No, check. I'm playing dominoes. I don't know what you're all talking about."
No, you're right. It is exactly right. I totally agree. No, we've seen LeBron do that several times too.
Yes.
Where he's kind of going back and forth between, are you the one that you want to be the puppeteer behind the scenes, but you don't want people to call you out about it, so then you act like unaware, like, what, me? No, I'm just a player in the NBA, just like everybody else. Like, no, LeBron, you have incredible influence and control, and you know this. Right?
Yes.
Quit acting like you don't. You know what I mean? He doesn't want to be considered the man, though, because he knows if that's the case, then he's going to get even more blowback about decisions that are made for the team because they're going to put that on him. And we all know it's not on him,
Man.
but the courtesy is you better let LeBron James.
I feel bad for all the YouTubers that are going to have to fact check his book and put out 44-hour YouTube videos fact checking his autobiography. Just YouTubers sitting in a room just actually what happened.
You're right. Yeah, oh man, that's gonna be one they're gonna pick apart too. LeBron's autobiography. Who's gonna help him write it? The LeBron biography.
I don't know. Someone he went to high school with, probably.
Yeah, and it definitely gonna turn into like a movie or something.
Oh,
LeBron's out in Hollywood, so that's gonna be
he used to have a
screenplay.
cartoon.
Oh, did he really?
It was like the LeBron, or like the Jameses, or something like that. He had a cartoon that ran at some point. Apparently,
wow!
I saw something about it the other day, and I completely missed it. But I saw a thing. I was like, I remember that was a thing.
I could see him being a cartoon character. I definitely could see that. I could see that. But it was like the family or just him?
I think it was supposed to be like his family.
Oh wow!
I gotta look this up now.
No, LeBron's. I mean, trust me. I guarantee that's part of the reason he loves LA. There's gonna be a screenplay or something about LeBron James's life or something like that, and people, oh man, they're gonna lose their damn mind. He'll wait after people hate him. Though he'll wait to 20-some years.
It was the LeBrons from 2011 to 2014.
Wow, yeah, actually ran for a while too.
Yes.
What, man? I wonder what it was on. I don't even remember the LeBrons. I don't watch cartoons though.
I know. I don't know if it was meant for us.
Kids. So it could have been out there, and I'm like, well, why would I know about it? I probably shouldn't know about it. But there you go, man.
They said it was much like a modern day Fat Albert. So that's what it's.
That's kind of okay. I got you. That makes sense. All right, man. Now I got to go see how LeBron looked as a cartoon character. Was Rich Paul in it too? Yeah, Rich Paul.
I just saw someone bring that up the other day, and you're like, there was 3 seasons of a show that I just completely don't realize happened.
Wasn't there a show about? Actually, I keep thinking. Wasn't there a show about his upbringing? Like
that was like an Amazon Prime or Netflix or thing. Yeah, it was a streaming one. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay, so that's already been out there. Anyway.
Yeah, they're gonna make a movie or some series because they keep doing it.
I'm late to the party. Got a cartoon and a damn series about. I'm talking about they're gonna make a series about. No, it's already been done. All right, we come back. We'll get into Rod's rant of the day. I have a list of the best receivers against man coverage. They call them the man beaters. We'll talk about that when we come back because the best man beater in the league wants to get paid. We'll get into it right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn.
Hey, I want to tell you about our friends at Texan Windows. They are your new and replacement window experts in Central Texas. You can discover affordable windows and sliding glass doors. Get you ready for a great summer. If you want to enhance your curb appeal, want to make your house looking bright and nice in the sunlight, you can change the color of your windows, change the operation of your windows. You can add some great picture windows, shine out into the street. Maybe you want to remove the grids from your glass. Maybe you want to add them to update the look of your home so you are happier in the look of your home. Obscure glass for privacy, all those things Texan Windows can do for you, but it's not just about the looks.
Not just about the looks at all, even though looks are a great reason to reach out to my friends at Texan Windows for that aesthetic appeal. But I'm all about being a ball on the budget, right? As much money as I can save. And that's what you can get from Texan Windows as well. Texan Windows can save you money on your annual energy bills with their replacement windows, which are energy efficient. All their windows come with Oregon filled double pane, low E glass to keep your home cool during those hot Texas summer days, those triple digits fast approaching. Also to keep your house warm during those winter months as well. That's one of the many advantages to getting brand new windows from Texan Windows. Also, I've been thinking about safety a lot. I got a new 8-month-old in the house. So not only do I need to save a lot of money because they're really expensive, which I can do by saving money on our annual energy bills with Texan Windows, but also I've been thinking about child-proofing everything in the house. And sometimes it can be really tough to child-proof those really old windows. They don't have the latest safety protocols. They don't have the latest technological upgrades when it comes to child-proofing and having safe windows, but that's what you also get from Texan Windows as well. So many advantages to getting new windows from Texan Windows, and my friend Patrick will give you exactly all the details how you can reach out.
Yes, you can hit up Texan Windows at TexanWindows.com or call 855-55-TEXAN to get a hassle-free estimate by email or over the phone. Or you can just stop by their showroom in Buda or Fort Worth to check out their in-stock windows, and the time has never been better to get your new windows and to contact our friend at Texan Windows, because for the month of June through July 4th, when you make the purchase of 10 replacement windows, you'll be eligible to receive a free Blackstone grill. New windows, new grill. What better way to start off your summer? So go check out TexanWindows.com. Texan Windows, your Central Texas window experts.
All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into Rod's rant of the day. I want to talk about NFL wide receivers. And one of the reasons that wide receivers are getting paid so much money these days, if you are one of those big money wide receivers, the guys making $30-something million a year, you better be able to beat man coverage. Like more and more the NFL is starting to play more zone coverage. And it's honestly because the wide receiver position is becoming so athletic. Passing games are becoming so sophisticated. And honestly, they just don't necessarily trust DBs on an island against wide receivers consistently throughout a game for 4 quarters. So more and more teams are playing zone coverage. But if you can beat man they play a lot more man in the red zone. If you can beat man, that ultimately for a wide receiver, if you can play man and you can beat man, play man as a DB, beat man as a wide receiver, you're going to make a lot of money, because it's just a lot of teams don't have guys who are coverage specialists that can cover man to man, and they don't have receivers that can beat man to man. Even guys like Deebo Samuel's big knock is he can't beat man to man coverage. They have to manipulate zone for him. That's why they move him around, put him in the backfield, and it's easier for him to get open against zone, easier for him to get open when you scheme him open by moving him around. It's a movable chess piece. But to just put him out, isolate him, and say, all right, go beat man-to-man coverage, that's tough for some wideouts, and it's tough for some DBs to be able to hold up in man coverage. So the best receiver, though, in the NFL against man coverage, at least last season, was CeeDee Lamb. Nobody was better versus man coverage than CeeDee Lamb. He faced single coverage on like 35% of his snaps, so that's third highest rate in the league. He was targeted more than any receiver, 197 targets in 2023. And he had the best passer rating when targeted in man coverage, 150.4. I mean, just a monster against man. He led all receivers in catches, touchdowns, missed tackles force, first downs gained against man coverage. Nobody had more touchdowns. He had 7. Nobody had more yards, 800, over 800. Nobody had more catches, 49. Missed tackles force, 10. He had 37 first downs gained against man coverage. 5 contested targets, and he averaged 7.5, actually a little under 7.5 yards after the catch, and finished second in yards per route run versus man coverage. So CeeDee Lamb, that's why CeeDee Lamb, he's going to get paid big money. CeeDee Lamb can beat man coverage consistently. You can make the argument there's nobody in the league better at beating man coverage consistently than CeeDee Lamb. Even Justin Jefferson. I mean, the stats would bear that out. Justin Jefferson's awesome. He's the best receiver in the league. There's no question. But whether he's probably better against zone and man, if you just look at both of his numbers, but versus man coverage, nobody's got better numbers than CeeDee Lamb. And the second best receiver against man coverage, I'm trying to tell you, got Nico Collins. Nico Collins is a beast. 25 receptions for 400 yards, 3 touchdowns against man coverage in 2023. He finished first in yards per route run and averaged 6.7 yards after the catch with only 1 drop versus man coverage. And I think he had a 137.6 passer rating when targeted in man coverage. 19 first downs gained. He was just he beats it consistently. So your 2 best, arguably, just based on the numbers, all right, you can be objective and, throw it out there if you want to about, certain players stylistically, whether you like them better, but based on the numbers and the data, CeeDee Lamb and Nico Collins were basically your best receivers versus man coverage last season. And rounding out that list, and this is from Pro Football Focus, Brandon Ayuk's on the list. And Brandon Ayuk is interesting too, because Brandon Ayuk should be, you could make the argument Brandon Ayuk should probably be higher on the list. Here's Brandon Ayuk's problem with the 49ers. And I'm talking about his personal issue with the 49ers, why he don't like that offense, because he's their man beater. They move Deebo around. They move Christian McCaffrey around. The George Kittle moves around. Kyle Juszczyk moves around. Everybody's a movable chess piece except for him. Everybody plays multiple positions except for him. He's their actual man beat. So as a defense, I gotta allocate resources to defend those other 4 with multiplicity, right? Because usually that means I got 2 different defenders keying one guy. I need 2 defenders keying Christian McCaffrey, because you're gonna take him from the backfield to the slot and back and forth. I need 2 defenders so I don't have to move guys around all the time. I'm gonna need 2 defenders keying Deebo in case Deebo also goes back into the backfield, motions to the other side of formation. I probably got multiple guys keying him too. Kittle, not as much, but Juszczyk's all around that formation. He's in the slot. He's playing fullback. He's playing sometimes tailback. So they put him flex. They move him all around the place. I need multiple guys keying him. So by the time I have 3 or 4 different players that I have to have multiple defenders keying on, I can't afford to double Ayuk. I can't afford to roll coverage over there. I got way too many resources allocated to stop this machine of multiplicity the 49ers have. So he ends up in man coverage a ton. And how about these? I got these numbers from Warren Sharp. Since trading for Christian McCaffrey, the 49ers throw the ball at the 32nd highest rate in the NFL. They pass on only 51.8% of their snaps. They've called only 1,643 offensive snaps, 28th in that time period. And you compare that to Justin Jefferson, who's the number one receiver in the league, the top guy. Minnesota is number 2 in pass rate, damn near 66%. They're number 4 in total offensive snaps, over 1,800. And so it's just way more opportunities for Ayuk and another offense than it would be. Now, 49er offense, you get schemed open to man coverage a lot, but there's just more opportunities in other offenses. There have been 28 wide receivers with 100-plus catches, basically the last year and a half. Out of 28 wide receivers on a per-game basis, Jefferson averages 10.5 targets. Ayuk averages 6.5. And at Ayuk's, I think, main gripe is that this offense is limiting me. I should be my stats, and he's already. I mean, he's a second team All Pro. He's doing really well. But I think his argument would be, no, I should be getting Justin Jefferson money because I should have Justin Jefferson numbers. I'm just an offense that's not gonna throw the ball a lot, which you're not. I mean, Shanahan's offense don't throw the ball. Not that Shanahan offense. It's not gonna throw the ball a ton. So that might be one of his gripes too. But he's great at beating man coverage because he always gets it. He is basically Ayuk recorded the lowest target rate against man of the players basically listed in the top 5. He only 25% of his targets are against man, but he was 5th in receiving yards, averaged 3.2 yards per route run versus man coverage. 23 passes. How about this? He caught 23 passes versus man and had 21 first downs on 23 catches versus man. Hauled in 3 touchdowns and 4 of 7 contested targets. Didn't drop a single pass in man coverage. He's a man beater. He really is. But they just don't get a lot of opportunities because of the way that offense is set up. With CeeDee Lamb could end up breaking the record this year, guys. No, I'm not joking. Like the all-time receiving record, he could challenge it. I mean, think about it. He had 135 receptions for 1,749 receiving yards last year. Right? That's his big breakout year. The record for Calvin Johnson is 1,964 yards in 2012. I mean, so you're talking about he fell 215 yards shy of the mark. Excuse me. And he averages basically 116 yards per game. He could have the record next year. Remember, Cooper Kupp came close to it, 2 years ago? Like 2021. He was 18 yards shy of the record in 2021. Dude, CeeDee Lamb could have one of them kind of records, guys. I mean, one of those kind of seasons and break that record. It's only 13 yards more per game, receiving yards per game for him than what he averaged last season, and he'd break the record.
That's crazy.
It's not that far-fetched, guys. Not with 17 games. That record's going to fall.
Yeah.
17 games. It's gonna
17
fall.
games in a super pass-heavy league.
It's going to fall. I mean, we know that. The Cowboys, it might be the team to do it. And you know why? Your running game sucks. Well, we don't know it sucks, but you ain't got no running backs. Right?
Yeah.
You ain't got no running backs. Well, you got, I hope that they have more balance, but they probably won't have that balance because they don't have the running backs. So CeeDee's going to get, I think CeeDee's got a chance to break the record, man.
Well, do you think if they pay him, he'll break it? If you think they don't pay him, he'll break it?
That's a good point. Which one's more incentive? Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know which one's gonna motivate him more because he's gonna be playing like a man possessed if they don't pay him, especially after the season he just had. Yeah, I guess he's more motivated if they don't pay him but then he's upset with the Cowboys. I'll say he's upset enough to leave, but as long as the guys get paid, all that bad, all the bad blood goes right out the window when they get paid. They forget all about the team and how they were trying to devalue them and all that. They don't care. It's like, it's one of my money anyway. It's one of my money.
Yeah.
I don't care about all that stuff. It's one of my money. So I think he'll have a great season. I don't know if he'll break the record, but CeeDee Lamb is He's a man beater. Those are the best man beaters in the league. All right, we'll come back. We'll get into what the facts, what the stats. We come back. We'll discuss. I got a couple of really cool stats for you. Actually, one from we didn't talk about the Stanley Cup champions, so we'll talk about that. Also, we'll come back and talk about there's a college football stat I want to share with you. So we'll kind of go all around the sports world with our what the facts, what the stats, right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm like Tom Longhorn, Rod Favors, right here on the Horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time for what the facts, what the stats here. All right, how about this one? That Tennessee Texas A&M game, the championship game that we saw played last night in the College World Series. It was a rare event because it was two teams playing for their first championship ring. The last time that happened in other major sports, where both teams were playing for their for a championship ring, for their first championship ring, I should say, in the history of their franchise or organization or program. According to this, Major League Baseball was 1980. Phillies and the Braves. Sorry, so Phillies and the Royals, excuse me. And for the NFL, apparently it was 1981. It's crazy. 49ers and the Bengals. In the NBA was 2006. Heat and the Mavs. 2020 for the NHL, it was 2023 Knights and Panthers. And NCAA men's basketball, it was Baylor and Gonzaga. It's the last time it happened. And I guess maybe college football. I can't think of the last time college football had That'd be a really long time ago, potentially. Where you had 2 programs playing for their first national title. Yeah, you got to go way back. I don't know if you probably can't do that kind of math right now. You got to go way, way back. But it's happened recently, like at least in my lifetime for Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, and now, of course, college baseball and men's college basketball.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's probably for women's college basketball too. Recently.
Yeah, college football. It's the problem of all the there was like 6 national champions a year. That doesn't help out.
It's made up stuff like, yeah, we won. It's like, what?
Hey, man, we went 4-0. We're national champions.
It's like, hold up, man. Y'all can't have 8 national champions from that year. Like, hey, we won. We thought so. That's why the playoff is way better. You shouldn't have a dispute about who the damn national champion was from a year. That's ridiculous. No. That is ridiculous in a major sport.
I mean, ask Florida State. They still, but.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sorry, Florida State. It sucks to be Florida State lately. I get it. It is. I agree. Everybody agrees you got shafted, man. Like nobody. I don't think anybody argues that they didn't get.
No, we agree you got shafted. Also, it was the right decision. But both those things can be true.
Yes, exactly. Both things can be true, and because life is not fair. How about this one? The streak continues. Apparently, Canada hasn't won a Stanley Cup since 1993. It's a 30-season drought now. The Stanley Cup champion has not been from the country of Canada. The longest drought for Canada prior to this most recent drought, 6 years between 1936 and 1941. How about that? That ain't good. Yeah, what's up with that? Somebody studied that? Have we studied that? It's just money and resources.
Yeah, I mean, I know I don't know clearly enough about hockey but I've seen about it and stories I've seen about it was when the Canadian currency went down, that became a huge problem of them being able to keep the teams up and so I don't know if they've recovered Canada. I don't know the finances of Canada well enough, but I can tell you, I know that was part of it at a point. Was the teams that were up there had to basically figure out how to make money different. That was when there was a lockout. That was part of it as well, that the currency in Canada had gone down in value.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's just a number of reasons why it is happening. But I mean, it was close. Point. It was close. Edmonton fought back.
Yeah.
I mean, couldn't get it done.
Couldn't get it done. But
couldn't make history.
Yeah. You go. Congrats to the new Stanley Cup champions. Okay. That's enough of the what the facts with the stats. I had a couple of more that I wanted to share, but we can save those for tomorrow. I tried to give you a college football stat. How about this one for Jonathan Brooks? Found this little stat doing some research on Jonathan Brooks last year. Jonathan Brooks averaged over 9 yards from scrimmage per touch on 3rd down since the 2021 season.
Wow.
Yeah. I know. Isn't that a crazy stat? Got that from Inside Edge. Crazy stuff. All right. We come back. We'll get into the discussion about Texas baseball, of course. That is the topic for the Big Fat Poll today. You can go check that out. We'll have that posted at the Horn ATX. We'll talk about the Texas baseball coaching vacancy, and we'll talk about who the top candidates are and all the salacious rumors that are also part of this story for Texas sports. All of that and more right here coming up on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis and Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Coming back on the Horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a top of the charts Tuesday, a very special one where my man Patrick, the Idealionaire, my co-host, instead of just playing jams that reach the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history, it is the most questionable chart toppers that reach the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. Yeah, these all sound like, songs you would hear during like at a play. You know what I mean?
So this is
it'd be part of some like, some like chorus in a play or something. What is this?
So this is Stars on 45. The song and the band is called Stars on 45. But this was like the original mashup. So if you hear like in the background, you can hear it's a bunch of songs put together. So it's a bunch of hit songs that they kind of merge together with a beat behind it.
That's a wild idea.
So that's what it, which they do, which is like, Girl Talk was huge for that for years here more recently, but he did with hit song. So this is just that, but from 1981.
Wow.
And so it's much more disco, but then it took like Beatles songs and Sugar there. Like it's got those songs in it. It's ridiculous to look back on, and it's very of the time. So I could get it because it's disco in 81 and it could make sense, but it did not stand the test of time whatsoever.
Cocaine was a hell of a drug. A lot of stuff in the 80s just fueled by cocaine. Yeah, that's really what it is. But yeah, that's wild. I didn't know there was really a thing where they do like mashups like that.
I didn't know there was a thing in 1981. I knew it was a thing. Now it's a thing, clearly.
Well, now it's a thing, but now DJs do it.
Yeah, so basically it's this. That was what Stars on 45 was.
Yeah.
Just
I didn't know people. Yeah, I didn't know they were like doing it as like a song.
Song. And then like that was a number one hit song.
Wow. Okay. There you go. That questionable, but like that was less questionable because like, well, it's just a mashup, a hit song. So
yeah, but that's still questionable that's number one. That shouldn't be number one. That should be what, people will like it. It's okay. But it shouldn't be. Someone should be like, oh no, this song is better though. There should be something better out there, is what I'm saying.
I agree. I'm with you. No, I think that's the whole point of this exercise. Like, that's a question. That is questionable, but it rose to number one, top of the charts Tuesday. So give a man Patrick credit for working hard because not only does he find the bangers, usually that's the case, but sometimes you got to sift through some of these weird, questionable ones. And today, instead of sifting through it, he decided, you know what, let's play some of those so the people will know. So we appreciate him. Also, Patrick does a great job coming up with the topics for the Big Fat Poll today. But today was a pretty simple one because the big topic of conversation on the show is who's going to be the next head coach at Texas. That's also the topic for the Big Fat Poll today.
Yes, who will be the next head coach for Texas baseball? Right now, the poll up on X, it appears Schlossnagle it's got to be a long margin. People think he's the guy, 47%. Wow. And then after that, it's other. So, I mean, other is a pretty big category. Could be a lot of guys. But then, that's over Tony Vitello as well, the Tennessee head coach. But Schlossnagle right now, people believe they are going to just dagger in the front, dagger in the front of A&M.
Yeah, that's
not even in the bag.
That's dagger in the junk. That's dagger right there in the junk, not just in the front, man. That's a dagger in your junk. I mean, think about how, like I said, diabolical that would be. Your first year in the SEC, you know how paranoid Aggies are about you going to the SEC when they went to the SEC initially to escape from being underneath the shadow of the University of Texas. And they went there and they wanted to be the only Texas program in the SEC. And then you go to the SEC. So not only are they dealing with that kind of trauma, like, oh man, we thought we escaped them. Here they come. But then they get their first championship game appearance in a major sport since we're like 1939, and then you go take that coach and your first year in the SEC. Like I said, that's the equivalent of moving down the street from your hated rival and then banging his wife, like, or girlfriend, whatever. Like that's that kind of diabolical Kaiser Sose, Heath Ledger's Joker, Darth Vader, Nino Brown type stuff going on here, man. I'm here for it. I agree. I'm all here, but that would be straight up gangster. Like that's, like I said, that's the athletic equivalent of Tupac's Hit 'Em Up or Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us. I mean, I don't even know where you go from. Then it just gets personal. Like there's nothing you could do in response to that as a university or a program.
No, I do because look, I it doesn't seem like he's going to take it, but who knows? But that is also for the Aggies. I feel like if he stays now, just stays, and they get a bunch of money, that's the Aggies are going to do a victory parade over the Longhorns that you didn't get the coach, even if that was never even a thing.
They're going to celebrate.
They're going to celebrate it.
They should celebrate, because I do think it seems like there's way too much smoke not to be a little bit of fire here.
It seems like there was
connections.
Yeah.
It seems like at least he reached out, and at least there's a conversation was had between his people and Texas. And now we wait. And like I said, now the drama that's building here is that, you're looking at this poll and Longhorn fans are like, no, half of them are like, oh yeah, no, it's him. I'm like, do you realize what that means? Do you realize what that means? Do you realize what did Drake always threaten Kendrick? He was going to press the red button. Like that was like the big thing during the Drake and Kendrick Lamar. He was like, Drake's like, don't make me press the button, man. I press the button, then hey, I'm gonna go nuclear on you. You know, this whole rivalry is gonna go to a whole nother level. I don't know if he pressed the button or not. We have no idea. Kendrick Lamar won the beef. I like Drake. I like them both. But my point is, this would be the equivalent of CDC pressing the button. This rivalry between Tech, and it's crazy. It'll be another sport other than football. Usually, football is the thing that takes it to another emotional level for them. This would take that rivalry to a whole nother level of just competitive hatred and angst and paranoia by the Aggies. Oh, they're already paranoid, but now you're talking about just going to steal their coach in front of them in broad daylight in front of everybody. Just going to steal the coach. That's crazy. That would be wild. I'm here for it, but man, that'd be psychological. I don't know if you come back from that if you're that's psychologically devastating for your program. Like, how do you got to beat Texas in that Texas A&M game and when football season starts. It's the only way you can answer. That's the whole thing about a rap beef, right? You got to be able to answer. And Kendrick Lamar had better answers than Drake did in the end. Like, if you're the Aggies, how do you answer if they steal your baseball coach who took you to a championship for the first time since 1939? What's your answer? Your only answer that would be, to me, equivalent or equal would be to beat them. To beat to beat Texas when you play them down there in Aggie Land.
Can we start a rumor?
If Texas beats you on top of doing that, man, dude, come on, man, they're gonna be like I said, the psychological trauma that would inflict on Aggies would be, I don't know if it would be irreparable. I don't know if they get turned back from that.
Can we start a rumor that if PK doesn't do a good enough job this year, Texas is going to hire Mike Elko to be the DC? Just want to start the rumor. There's no truth to it. I just want to start the rumor.
Because they're so paranoid, they start to believe it. If that happened, they be like, "No, I don't believe it." They're gonna do it. They go, see this. Oh man, you're right. You can start. Honestly, like I said, you start that room and see if you can get a message board hit from an Aggie down the line. They're like, you've heard this?
I think they know some. They know some.
Oh man. Oh, like I said, that I don't know. Like I said, if I don't know how much substance is to this, but there's a lot of smoke. Like I said, it's got to be some fire back there when it comes to this story. So we'll see if CDC is that diabolical. If he does, like I said, you're gonna take this rivalry to a nuclear level between Texas and Texas A&M. If Texas indeed steals their baseball coach, but we'll see. All right, go check out the topic for the Big Fat Poll today. That's over at the X account at Horn ATX. Before we get back into this story, because we'll talk about it a little bit more, because Schlossnagle is not the only candidate. There's some other very worthy candidates. We'll get into that and drop you a couple of nuggets. There's some nice nuggets that you need to know, factoids about the Texas head coaching vacancy for baseball. It doesn't happen very often, so we'll get into that. But first, let's get updated, educated, and informed on all the top stories today with my man Patrick Davis and the Horn Headlines.
All right, your Horn Headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas baseball parted ways with head coach David Pierce yesterday after 8 seasons with the team. The decision comes a few weeks after Texas was unable to advance past the regional round. Both Chris Del Conte and David Pierce have stated the parting was a mutual decision in statements made on Monday. Pierce was hired from Tulane in 2016 to replace legendary coach Augie Garrido and finished his time with Texas going 295 and 162, winning 3 Big 12 championships and making 3 trips to the College World Series. Texas will now look to find a new head coach, hoping to find someone who can help Texas challenge in the SEC. In the NBA, the Cleveland Cavaliers hired Golden State assistant Kenny Atkinson for their next head coach. Atkinson, who had spent the last 3 seasons as an assistant for the Warriors, was last a head coach for the Nets from 2016 to 2020 and was the lead candidate for the Hornets job a year ago before removing his name from the running. The Timberwolves also made a head coaching move, securing their head coach Chris Finch with a 4-year extension, keeping him under contract through the 2027-28 season. Finch has gone 160 and 127 in 4 years in Minnesota and grown a team that is now considered one of the top teams in the West. Detroit is now the only team without a head coach after firing Monty Williams late last week. In Major League Baseball, the Astros will begin their series with the Rockies today, trying to extend their 5-game winning streak. Hunter Brown will get the call for the Astros after pitching a solid 6 innings in his last outing. And the Rangers dropped game 1 of their series to the Brewers 6-3 yesterday. Rhys Hoskins hit a grand slam in the 6th inning and never looked back as Milwaukee's bullpen held the Rangers to only 1 hit in the final 3 innings. Andrew Heaney will take them out for the Rangers today, hoping to turn around what has not been a great season for him, as he's only 2-8 so far on the year. And that is your Horn headlines.
All right. Thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. We appreciate those. All right, let's get right back to this Texas baseball story. Texas looking for a coach after parting ways with David Pierce. And Schlossnagle, of course, after let me just throw this out there. The timing for CDC to make the announcement that they're moving on from Coach Pierce, and it broke like right at the end of our show, probably the last 5 minutes of the show yesterday. It is brilliant. Now, some people believe the timing is curious because they think it narrows down the candidates to those 2 who are coaches who are playing in the championship game. That could very well be the case. If it's not, it's still brilliant on the part of CDC to steal and snatch some headlines from the Aggies and even to infuse paranoia into the Aggies. The Aggies, even before that game, a lot of them are not even talking about the actual championship game that their baseball team is about to play. They're talking about the possibility of losing their coach after that game and what may happen, the dominoes that may fall as a result of the Texas job and the rumors surrounding the candidates, and one of them, of course, being Schlossnagle, the head coach of the Aggies. So either way, if you're just trying to steal headlines and steal some of the limelight from the Aggies, there's no doubt that it worked. Or if, like I said, I don't know the timing because, it's something that some Longhorn fans are saying, oh, no, it definitely means it was down to those 2 candidates. I'm not sure the timing definitely says it's one of the 2 candidates. I think it does hint. It's a strong hint that it could be one of them. But I think also CDC is just brilliant at being able to snatch some headlines. I think a lot of it was, no, let's take some of the limelight from the Aggies. It worked. It worked brilliantly. Because you didn't have to announce it then. You could have waited. Unless we get because as my man CB pointed out, you got the news that Sark was fired. I'm sorry, that Herman was fired and Sark was hired on the same day.
Yeah.
Within hours of each other. Now, if we get that announcement within the next 24 hours from CDC, no matter what it was, then maybe, hey, it was definitely about potentially the 2 candidates there. But if we don't get it, maybe it was a little bit of showmanship. Maybe CDC just wanted to show them up a little bit. And then especially if it's not one of those 2 candidates and it's just another option, I'm sure a very worthy possibility for the Longhorn baseball program, then I think maybe we can confirm that CDC was just being a bit of a showman, stealing some headlines from the Aggies. It didn't have to be at that time. He just chose, no, this is better timing than anything.
Yeah, and I mean, it could have been, you could be looking at somebody who is, closer in the College World Series as well. So, there's reasons why it may have been when it was that wasn't completely just to steal headlines, but it felt like that was at least part of it.
I feel like that was a factor in it.
Yeah,
maybe
it feels like
not
for
the biggest factor. Yeah, we won't know until somebody's hired and we'll go, oh, okay. Then we can retrospectively put the timeline together potentially. But if it is one of the 2 candidates that were in the championship game, then there's no doubt it was all about we'll let it play out first, and then we'll let them make their decision. But we'll make sure that it's a vacant job, of course, by the time they are done with their season officially. So we won't know, I don't think, the motivations until we know who it is. And then we can kind of retroactively go back and go, okay, that's why he waited. That's why it happened when it did. But I would say, just from the Aggie perspective, a lot of them believe it was to steal headlines. And
it was to ruin
the
their last day in Omaha. Yes. It was,
and you know what? And as a Longhorn fan, I don't totally disagree with him. I don't totally disagree with it at all. I don't. Listen, we always talk about petty. You're an NBA guy. We talk about how petty the NBA is. And sometimes petty can be really good. The WNBA has gotten some of that petty now. And sometimes petty can be really good, especially in rivalries. It's a petty move, but that's what, in rivalries, you do petty stuff like that to steal headlines. So Aggies probably do. I'd say I'm more inclined to agree with the Aggies who are conspiracy theorists and believe that maybe CDC did that to steal some of the mojo.
Look, we'll see. If he doesn't hire anybody in the next 2 days and it's not one of those guys, then it was definitely we have to do this to steal away a little bit.
Let's spoil it for the Aggies.
Let's spoil it. Yeah. Let's get the headlines. You know what? Let's, this is the last day everybody in college baseball is going to be together in Omaha before everybody splits off and goes their other ways. Mm-hmm. So we'll mention it then. It'll be the talk of the town in Omaha for a day. And we'll take that away from the Aggies. We'll take it away from Tennessee, who is also going to be somebody you're going to start playing next year in the SEC. So we'll take it away from both of them and just piss them off a little bit more as we walk into the SEC.
Yeah, exactly. When we know the candidate, then we'll know. And either way, if it's just CDC being petty, I'm all for it. Petty rivalries are supposed to be petty. That's what they're all about. College rivalries are the best, though. College rivalries, they have this unique. Man, there's this unique quality where the fanatic in fandom shows up so much more. Yeah. Like the Michigan Ohio State Connor Stallions. Like who would have been able to write a plot like that? That they get a military intelligence dude to come help them, steal signs. I mean, that's great. I mean, you talk about that is fantastic rivalry stuff. Hell, even going way back to Texas, Oklahoma, didn't Barry Switzer admit in his book that he sent spies down? And Daryl K. Roy always accused Barry Switzer of sending spies to spy on Texas practices, and then he admitted it years later. His book's like, yeah, Daryl K. Roy was actually right. I was spying on him the whole time. You gonna get stuff that cool in rivalries in professional sport. That's a college rivalry.
You get it really is. The Mike Leach.
Yes, Mike Leach dropping the script. Exactly. Like, what? That is only college rivalry stuff. The college rivalries are so cool for that. That is. You don't get stuff like that in professional rivalry. I'm sure there's some great stories. Of course there are. There's something unique about the fanaticism of college rivalries, how crazy they are. Remember, was that the Auburn, Alabama, when they poisoned like a tree?
An
old, sacred tree. They poisons a tree. Like, why would you do that? Like, that's how fanatical they get. Oh, matter of fact, that was just a really cool story. I don't know if you saw this. But and this is not even a real great rivalry, but it's just a really cool story about how passionate people are in college about rivalries. So Florida Atlantic and South Florida, they had a Twitter beef going on. Just real quick, I won't bore you after death with this, but South Florida, they put out some exotic sports cars on their football field, kind of like Texas with the Lamborghinis. They put them on their football field for recruits because everybody's doing this. It's a thing. It's not just Texas, all right? And so South Florida put this out there on social media, and then Florida Atlantic's chief of staff, a guy named Matt Smidebush, he comments on it. He quote tweets it and comments on it. A lipstick emoji and then a pig emoji. Lipstick on a pig, essentially referencing their field is trash and their stadium is trash. South Florida Director of Scouting Alex Fagan responded, pointing out that USF won the Boca Raton Bowl and FSU staff, while the 4-8 Owls had the month off because, of course, they didn't make a bowl game. And he said, never got to say thank you for letting us use your erector set of a stadium back in December since y'all had the month off. And then Smidebush shot back, getting personal, saying, hashtag 5614 won in the Bay. At least we have an on-campus stadium and don't need to rent from the city. You're a joke, dude. These are people on the staff at these two institutions, guys, going at it on social media. And then basically Smite Bush circled back and put up some footage of their win, I guess, over USF. They beat them 56-14. Hell, that's Tom. And that's Tom Herman's crew? Is it Tom Herman's crew?
Is that his crew now?
Is he FAU?
Oh, I can never
believe he might
remember.
be FAU.
I know he's one of them down there.
And you know what? And it fits. If that's Tom Herman's staff, then it fits because they like him.
Yeah,
Double Bird. Yes.
Florida Atlantic. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Tom Herman's crew. So apparently he went back and forth. My point is, this is only a college. I don't think you get this kind of stuff. Like, we know the NFL's getting a little pettier. I remember the Sean Payton calling out Aaron Rodgers' best friend and the coach Nathaniel Hackett from his time with the Broncos, calling him a terrible coach.
Yeah.
The NFL's learning and they're getting a little pettier. They're not on the NBA level. NBA is a whole nother like elite level of petty, and they're great at it. The WNBA probably actually may be better than the NFL at it, but sports needs a little bit of petty. And college, you get a lot of petty. Hey, remember Deion Sanders and Jay Norvell going at it for the Colorado State rivalry? They were going at it at Colorado State. Jay Norvell, who Texas will play, talking about, Deion's not a gentleman, the way he conducts himself. And Deion talking about, mama heard you talking about me and stuff like that. It's like that. Deion's smart. Deion knows petty is good because Deion's all about petty.
Yeah.
Even with his own damn team, he's petty about bringing in Louis Vuitton luggage. Deion gets it. And that's why people pay attention to him, because it's interesting. And I think college sports is one of the best places to find that level of petty, like fanatical fandom, if you will. You don't find it in a lot of places, but it manifests itself at the college level so well. And I think if the Longhorns steal Schlossnagle from the Aggies, you're going to see a fanatical response somehow. And I don't know exactly what the Aggies are going to do, but they're going to go crazy. Go crazy over that, man. Anyway, there you go. So, how about this, though? If the Longhorns are going to steal Schlossnagle, they got to pay him. He's made $1.3 million in 2024. That's not a big deal. A lot of people are speculating that whoever takes the Texas head coaching job will be the highest paid coach in baseball, in college baseball. Danny Davis threw out this little nugget. Since 1947, just 3 College World Series winning coaches haven't returned to their schools next season. And also, since 1947, just 1 College World Series runner-up coach hasn't returned to his school the next season. Doesn't happen. So you got between the runner-up and between the champion, since 1947, only 4 coaches have left either the championship squad, the College World Series winning coach, or the College World Series runner-up coach have left their schools to go to another job. Just don't happen a lot. If any school can do it, though, it will be the University of Texas.
Yeah, I mean, it's
pull it off.
Yeah, the timing of it just made it seem so cut and dry, but also it's not a very cut and dry thing. It's just, we'll say we said it. You mentioned earlier with the Herman and Sark the same day. Vic Schaefer was within a day or two when they got rid of Karen Aston. She was brought in. Rodney Terry took a while.
Yeah, because of but that was, you're right. That was different circumstances.
Different
Chris
circumstances.
Beard's
I
issue,
believe Chris Beard one was pretty quick though. Between Shock and Chris Beard, I believe that one was pretty quick.
I think you're right about that. Actually, I do believe you're right about that. I think I remember that actually.
So most of these hirings, most of the time, when CDC makes a move, the other move is planned normally. What was slightly odd about this is you felt like if you did it on that Monday, then it wouldn't have been one of those coaches because they couldn't have already agreed to the deal because they're more busy about the championship game than they would be about signing that new contract. So it would be somebody else. But so who knows? We'll find out. I would assume within the next 24 hours, we'll find out.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right about the trends of the pattern.
Yeah, I would be more surprised if tomorrow morning we're not talking about it. Of the new coach. That'd be more surprising if we were still talking about who they might hire tomorrow. I think that'd be more surprising than if it's not.
Well, a lot of Longhorn fans will be surprised if it's not Jim Schlossnagle,
Yeah.
as we know from the poll, and he was asked about it. And give props to the reporter that asked him right after he loses the championship game to Tennessee. Hey, the big story out there, other than you losing the national title to Tennessee, is you taking the Texas job. He was asked about it. Here's what Schlossnagle had to say.
I think it's pretty selfish of you to ask me that question, to be honest with you. But I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M. I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again, and that hasn't changed in my mind. That's unfair to talk about something like that. That'd be like you asking Montgomery if he's going to sign in the draft. But I understand you got to ask the question, but I gave up a big part of my life to come take this job, and I've poured every ounce of my soul in this job, and I've given this job every single ounce I can possibly give it. So write that.
Coach, thank you very much.
All right, write that. Did it seem to you, was that enough? Did it seem like he was adamant enough that, hey, I'm not going?
It didn't, but also at the same point, I just want to say that poor moderator, him at the end of that clip, sir, I'm so sorry. I didn't want this to be it.
It had to be asked. Somebody had to ask that question.
Somebody had to ask it. Yeah,
that was a good. Yeah,
I don't know. He says no in it, so it may take him at his word. He says no, it's not a thing. I'm staying here. At the end of the day, this could just be a way of CDC giving his old friend a little raise and not hiring him. But you know what? I guarantee you get as you're flying back, your AD called you immediately after, or your AD called you that day and said, what's the deal? Do we need to work on a new contract right away? Or so it wouldn't surprise me at all if that was the case, that maybe it was a nice little nod, but he knew he wasn't going to get him. So he, make headlines the last day of Omaha where everybody's together, and then, bring in your guy. If you didn't feel it was necessary or you couldn't get it done beforehand, you maybe got the deal done. You felt good about it Thursday or Friday of last week with whoever you're going to bring in. You say, wait till Monday and we'll make a wave on Monday as opposed to Thursday, Friday. That could be it. But it is questionable because, again, from the people I talked to beforehand, that they knew who the guy was and they were waiting. And everything was in a waiting motion. But the people who were in the College World Series, that, LSU wasn't in Omaha. Clemson wasn't in Omaha. And those are two of the bigger other names. Both those guys have denied they were coming too. So if you look at who's in Omaha, you haven't heard really many of those names necessarily brought up as much of guys who would be coming to Texas. So it's questionable. It's baseball, so it's not. I don't know if there's as many leaks as maybe football has, or at least as many rumors as a football would have, where there's so many people who are trying to shed light on it. So, but again, CDC acts quick, so I'm not worried that we're going to have to wait long for this answer.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it'll be done. It might be done before the show's over. That'd be kind of 24 hours, but I think tomorrow is at the latest. I do believe it's done. If not, then something went wrong.
Yeah.
Right? If it's not done in like 40 hours, you feel like it didn't go according to plan. That's something went wrong. It just didn't go according to plan. So we'll see. But CDC usually, man, he can close. We know that about CDC. All right, there you go. So, and also, keep in mind this job. Texas don't change coaches a lot. 3 baseball coaches in the last 56 years. They are essentially what the Pittsburgh Steelers are in the NFL when it comes to their baseball program. Job doesn't come open very often. So when you get this job, you're gonna get a wow. Like even if you're initially not, meeting expectations, Texas don't make a lot of moves in this particular sport. This is one of their where you have probably more continuity in Texas baseball than you have in most sports around the country. Period.
And you have a donor base that is ready to invest and try and make. You've got guys that are ready to win at a high level, and if you can come in and sell them that, you'll get the money you need for NIL. You'll get the money you need to help that transfer portal, bring in the coaches you want, get everything you need.
No doubt. Yeah, like I said, so I understand why Texas is gonna force the best coaches in the country to tell them no. It should be a short list, and I believe it is pretty short, probably down to 4 or 5 guys. And I think Texas Texas baseball fans believe they're going to get their top choice. And the problem with Coach Pierce. Coach Pierce did a good job, but a lot of Texas fans were never won over by Coach Pierce. They questioned the hire initially. They didn't think he was the first choice or the right choice, and he never won them over. A lot of people feel like that about Sark too, that Sark wasn't the first choice or maybe not the right choice. And I was on that camp too, but I've been converted. I gave Sark a fair chance, and Sark is awesome. He's great. So you won't find a bigger Sark fan than me. But I think Sark converted a lot of Longhorn fans, whereas Coach Pierce never quite converted those Texas baseball fans that were never in his camp and never really were all on board and all in on the hire. And I think Coach Terry's there at that point. He hasn't necessarily won over the majority of the Texas basketball fans either. You get Vic Schaefer won over, women's basketball fans. They were like, okay, he's the guy. And now I think Longhorn football fans are like, oh no, Sark's the guy. He's the guy. He'll take the program to a new height or to unprecedented heights. He's got that ability. And I don't think Texas baseball fans thought that was the case with Coach Pierce. All right, we come back. We'll get into some Texas football conversation. We'll go behind the burnt orange curtain, talk some Texas football. I've been studying Quinn. There's one thing I think scouts want to see from Quinn. I don't know if they will, but one thing they do want to see from Quinn. We'll discuss that. Also, we'll discuss the possibility of Texas having 1,000-yard receiver next year. We'll see. We'll talk about whether the offense with this embarrassment of riches at wide receiver will have one that stands out from the group as a 1,000-yard receiver. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the Horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. I see some people hitting me up saying basically the Schlossnagel audio. And this is honestly, this is how the mind of conspiracy theorists work too. I'm not saying that conspiracy theory can't be accurate and correct. That Schlossnagel's denial is actually more confirmation in their minds that he actually is leaving A&M and going to Texas. That he was so passionate and so upset. It's the lady doth protest too much, methinks, right? Belief that, oh no, why is he so passionate? Why I just say no? That's ridiculous. Yeah, no way I'm leaving A&M. Why would you even ask that? I just went to a national championship instead of the just throwaway comment of no, it's now, I'll squash it, it's done, no, I'm not going. There was a lot of passion, and there was this, the adamant down talking about moving his family, and some people was like, well, that's a lot. Why didn't you just say no, I'm not interested
I will throw in
leaving Texas? So some people believing that's it. But we've seen before. We've seen Saban do that. We've seen Roy Williams did it once famously for college basketball. We've seen that happen, where it's like, well, why are you so passionate about? It's just a question. Are you interested in taking another job? And it's like they start dropping S-bombs and then talking about how they don't like that and that's still disrespectful. I'm kind of offended right now. And it's like, I just asked you a question. You ain't got to be. So some people believe that he protests too much kind of thing.
I will say, yeah. I think people take this out of the equation a lot of times, that guy probably from 9:55 in the morning till he put his phone away was getting blown up with people asking him if he was leaving. Every donor and booster that he knows at A&M wanted a personal conversation with him on the day he's trying to win a national championship, asking him if he's going to stay or not. And why would this even be a question? He shouldn't be talking to them and all this, and probably being accused of things that he may be a little upset by the time the game is over, that this took over his entire day. So I don't know if that's the case. Maybe you're right. Maybe those guys are right that he is overselling it. That is whole, I gave everything here and you guys don't respect me, I'm leaving, or whatever it is. That may be part of it, but it could also just be that he's literally just annoyed and tired of it. Man, all day long, this has been going on, and now I just lost, and y'all going to ask me again?
Right. And once again, it's a great point. And if you're right, and by the way, I like that theory, even more of a diabolical genius move by CDC.
Yeah.
Because you genuinely upset and annoyed him. Like that, like if you were trying to just distract the Aggies and just steal limelight, then not only did you do that, but you genuinely annoyed and actually through degrees of separation got to the head coach and people annoying him and asking him all day long about, are you taking that Texas job? And it's like, man, come on, please stop asking me. I'm the head coach here. Why would you keep asking me that? So either way, CDC's gonna get
just getting that text from a donor that you've met with recently, and that donor, the text just says, call me. You're like, man, it is game day.
I got a national championship game 3. Like, I need you to call me. I only need 5 minutes, but I need you to call me right now. Because I got my other billionaire Texas friend. He just texted me some emojis that I don't like. Teasing me about how he's going to take my coaches. I think it's an eggplant in there or something like that. I don't like this stuff going on.
There's some chocolate ice cream.
Yeah, exactly. It's all kind of crazy stuff. Yeah, no, you're right, man. It's a wild possible scenario. So anyway, I understand some people they're like, oh, that Schlossnagel thing, that actually makes me feel better about the chances of him coming to Texas. As Patrick pointed out, he may have just genuinely been annoyed by the entire situation. Or maybe he does protest too much, methinks. Could be. All right, let's get to 1,000, the possibility of Texas having a 1,000-yard receiver next year. Now, it hadn't happened a lot in Texas football history where Texas had a 1,000-yard receiver. I mean, CB pointed out that they didn't have a 1,000-yard receiver until Mac's first season in 98. He's right about that. It was Wayne McGarity in 98. And you go look at it, they've had, I believe, 9 players total who have had 1,000-yard receivers in their careers at Texas, and 11 total 1,000-yard seasons, period. And you just started. So this is all going back to the last 25 years where you've had 11,000 yards. So it could be trending in that direction. The only thing I would, the only counterpoint to Texas having 1,000-yard receiver this year, because they definitely have the talent. There's no questions. And that may be the reason they don't have a single, receiver separate from the pack. I've been saying I think Texas is going to expand their circle of trust this year, play more receivers. I think you could get as many as 6 receivers in a rotation with Sark. Now, Sark usually does not like a really expanded rotation of wide receivers. He likes to keep it really tight. It's usually 3 guys, maybe 4, but it's been 3 most recently, right? Last year was A.D. Mitchell. It was Xavier Worthy. It's Jay Witt. Though that's your big 3. Hell, and and if you're gonna throw in a tight end in there, then JT Sanders is a tight end. But he doesn't expand his wide receiver rotation that much. I think this year it will probably be the widest rotation, or most expansive rotation he's had at wide receiver since, and you probably got to go back to his Bama days, where he had the 4 first-round wide receivers, Ruggs and Judy and Waddle and Devontae Smith, and then you throw in a Mechie in there too. They had Mechie as a part of that group, so you had 5 that were in regular rotation. I think you could get 5. I don't think you have 4 first-round wide receivers at Texas. I think you might have 2. I think Isaiah Bond and Ryan Wingo are probably first-round receivers. Ryan Wingo is a freshman now, so he's got a long way to go. But in terms of the raw tools he has and the raw material, he certainly we got a higher ceiling actually than Isaiah Bond does. And Isaiah Bond is projected to be a first-round wide receiver. But I think you got 4 guys who can play in the NFL right now who could, I don't know if they'll be drafted either, but you got 4 NFL guys in that wide receiving room and that wide receiving core right now. And I think you get to 6 between Bond, Golden, Cook, Bowden. I think Ryan Wingo's thrown in there too because he's a prodigy. I like DeAndre Moore. I've heard a lot of good things about DeAndre Moore. We'll see if that translates to a game situation. I've already seen Jonte Cook in game situations, so I know that will translate. Isaiah Bond's already played big-time football. So is Matthew Golden. So is Silas Bowden. Those are 4 guys who played Power 5 football at a high level. I think Ryan Wingo may be as talented physically as any of those guys. So throw him in there. I know he can play football at the highest level. And then DeAndre Moore is kind of one that hasn't done it, but we've been hearing a lot about him in the offseason. So we're talking about 5 to 6 guys. I would say right now I'd be at 5. I would say you have 5 guys in the rotation. Maybe one of those guys is kind of taken out of the rotation because they're not consistent enough, or they don't know the scheme. They haven't earned the trust of Sark, maybe drop passes, whatever it is. You start out with a really expanded rotation early, and then you tighten that rotation by the time you get to conference play. I think by the time you get deep into conference play, you got a healthy rotation. Just make sure we knock on wood in case of injuries, of 5 wide receivers. And Sark hadn't had that many in rotation since he's been here. Now, and that's why I think you may not have 1,000-yard receivers. I think you could end up getting, I think situationally, there are certain guys who are going to stand out with certain concepts, right? I think you'll have a guy that's a deep threat. You'll have a guy that shows up on third down, on money downs for you. You have a guy that's in the red zone. You had that last year, essentially. AD was your red zone guy, beating man-to-man in the red zone. Your go-to receiver was X-Man. Your money down guy was pretty much JT Sanders. Had more of those money down contested catches than anybody. He was a big contested catch guy for you too. So you had different players that were, providing and playing different roles on the offense. And I think you could get that with this receiving core. You could get somebody who's great in the red zone. You could get somebody who's your deep threat. You could get somebody who's great on money downs. It depends on the situation. And that's why right now I'm leaning toward not having 1,000-yard receiver, but I could easily see Isaiah Bond being that guy. I'd be surprised if it's anybody except Bond. How about that?
You wouldn't think Wingo could do it?
It's a freshman. That's wild. What's the last freshman we had that had 1,000 yards?
That's true.
Wild.
Yeah.
He's good enough. He's good enough. I just don't know if Sark is going to force feed him that much.
That's true.
As a freshman,
That's true.
He did it as X-Man, but X-Man was
like
the only
that.
guy
That's
he
true.
had.
That's true.
So, but I agree with you. I like him. I just don't. I don't see it really for Golden. I don't see it for Bowden. I don't see it for maybe Cook. Maybe we're sleeping on Jonte Cook. Maybe Jonte Cook. He's got the most experience. He's got the most chemistry with the quarterback, Quinn Ewers. Maybe it's Cook. I'll go Bond and Cook. I can't see anybody else. Ryan Wingo, yes, of course. But I have a hard time I think he might be the first freshman ever to get 1,000 yards.
So you think Wingo and Manning could do it?
Yes, no doubt. Oh, hell yeah.
Okay.
They'll do
I
it next
gotcha.
year.
Okay.
Not this season, but like, what I
Okay,
mean?
I got you.
Once
Yeah,
Quinn's gone,
yeah.
I think
I
those
gotcha.
two will be
Okay.
1,000 yards. Because I think Ryan Wingo's like Roy Williams to me. Like, I think Roy Williams, I got to look at Roy Williams was probably 1,000-yard receiver maybe it's like second or third year. He was a freak. And, Shipley had all the injuries. Excuse me. But I wonder if Ryan Wingo, I don't know how much Sark is going to try to expedite his development as a prodigy. He does have a lot of weapons, but we saw in the spring game, Ryan Wingo is different. Like he's built differently. But if if he's in the starting rotation, then yes, he's on the list.
Okay.
I don't know if Sark is going to let a freshman be a starter like that, but I could be. Hell, Kevin Banks started for you. Xavier Worthy was a starter for you. If you're good enough, you're old enough in Sark's system. So if he is physically, talent-wise, he's one of your top 3 most talented receivers. I just don't. Yeah, Roy Williams had 800 yards as a freshman, and his 1,000-yard seasons were his last 2. So I don't know if any Longhorn has ever got 1,000 yards receiving as a freshman. He's got the capability. I just don't know if he's going to have the reps, targets.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, especially early on to be able to get it done by the end of the season. You need to be able to be targeted early, and he may not get the early targets.
Yep. I mean, exactly. You're right. By mid-season, hell, he probably is.
He could be
getting
there
as many reps as everybody else. Right early on,
and Jonte Cook could take. If he comes in and does, what people expect him to do, he could take over. And if Isaiah Bond steps up into that role and he builds a better rapport with Quinn, then he could be that guy as well. And so that's 2 guys Wingo would have to unseat kind of to get there. So I'm with you. I'm with you.
But I don't know. I'm picturing just a lot of balance. I'm picturing almost a different week. Another guy has a big game where you would have potentially, maybe you would have like 4 different games where you have 4 or 5 different games where you have a different leading receiver.
That would be.
Like that kind of thing.
I'm
That's
more for that.
picturing.
I'd be happy because I think that means Quinn is going through his progressions better. I think Quinn is reading defenses better and making those adjustments better. So I think that's good there. And I think it's a growth for Sark to not overly rely on one wide receiver and write a script of 40 plays and 35 of them are for one wide receiver.
Yeah.
And then they triple team him and he's like, well, I've already got the script. So we're throwing that way.
No, you're right. I would like to see if Sark maybe could diversify the target share a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I think you're right about that. I think that would be maturity on his part too.
And not just adjust, but have 3 number 1 wide receivers that you feel you can put out there and in game find where the weaknesses are in those defenses and start to pick them apart and make defenses adjust to you in game, as opposed to what he does normally, which is pregame plan that. And then no matter what happens on the defense, we're still going to do our plan. And we're not necessarily going to adjust to what the defense is giving us. We'll just keep trying to force the ball where we want to put it. I'd like to see him more in that adjustment phase to spread the ball out and understand most teams are not going to have 3 really good DBs, and they're going to have to help out in certain places.
No.
And where they're not helping out and where they're putting a guy on an island, attack that.
Yep. No, I agree. That's why I think you could be a different guy week to week, that steps up, because the weakness will be different on the defense every week.
Exactly.
The defense the safety is the weakness this week, or no, it's the corner, the boundary corner, or this week it's the slot.
Oh, I know.
A different guy playing that.
These guys do better.
Position.
These guys do better bumping on the line of scrimmage. These guys got speed. They can run with you. These guys, depending on what it is, or the safeties may be really good that can come down on top, and all those pieces. I'm with you on that.
Yep. All right. Yeah. So like I said, I wouldn't be shocked if there is a 1,000-yard receiver, but my vision right now says expanded circle of trusted wide receivers and more balance, different leading receiver, probably 5 out of the 12 weeks. You got a different 5 to maybe 6 out of the 12 weeks. You got a different leading receiver. That's kind of what I picture with this offense, but we'll see. It's all about Sark's vision. All right, we come back. We'll get into off the record. We've got some stories from the sports world and beyond the sports world. All that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Low Hunt. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Austin is a great city. It's one of the reasons people keep moving to Austin, making the traffic even worse, but also making it one of the fastest growing cities in America. And as our city continues to grow and thrive, so do our friends over at Ironworkers Local Union 482. Many of the iconic landmarks we love in this city were created and built by the skilled craftsmanship of Ironworkers Local Union 482, like the Pennybacker Bridge and DKR Stadium. Folks over at Ironworkers Local 482 don't just go to the office, they build it. So if you're looking for an exciting employment opportunity or a refreshing career change, or you want a new challenge, or you want to feel valued by your employer, you can become a valued member of this prestigious organization, Ironworkers Local 482. And right now is a great time to do it. They're hiring over 3,000 people for a huge project right here in Central Texas. They're offering competitive wages, competitive benefits, a pension plan. They even offer training for unskilled labor through their apprenticeship program. So what are you waiting for? Become a member of Ironworkers Local 482 and take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that helps shape the future of our great city. Go online today and apply at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. I got a couple of stories I wanted to get to here. First story, apparently Ice Cube has gotten the okay to make Last Friday, the fourth installment of the Friday franchise movies. Another Friday's coming out. This one Last Friday. I'm assuming that means this is the last of the movie franchise Friday. So that just announced, in case you were a fan of Friday. Ice Cube is one of the great stories, crossover stories in hip hop. I bring this up all the time because the first crossover hip hop star was Will Smith, and he was unbelievable. Will Smith was easy because he was a PG-13 rapper. He wasn't a gangster rapper, but he's the one that opened the door for rappers to cross over, because obviously rap is one of those professions. It's like stripping, right? Or being a running back. You can't do it as an old man or an old woman, right? That old stripper, you old as a stripper by the time you're 35. You're already an old stripper. You can't be stripping too much because Father Time is undefeated. Things will start drooping. You ain't gonna get the tips you want. You know how that goes. Same thing about running back. Same thing about rappers. You can't be rapping. You can't be a grandfather rapping about the same stuff he was rapping about when he was 20. It don't look, nobody want to hear it. Don't nobody want to see you rapping about that kind of stuff. That's why rappers around the time they get to be 40, not all of them, but most of them start to drift away from rap, or they start to, they go mainstream in other ways. They start to cross over in other ways. You got to have the second career plan,
Yeah.
right? The
Or
backup career
you
plan.
could just be
50
too short and keep going.
You can be too short and keep going, but too short, like who's jamming too short right now?
I get
Like,
that.
he's
But
got
I
a
just love the
back.
fact that he's still touring, and I just looked at how old he is. He's
Exactly.
58.
He's 50,
He's still
and
touring.
nobody's going to see, and that's sad, right? We all go like, man, it's not sad because too short.
Because I know
what
what songs he's singing, and that is hilarious that in 2 years there will be a 60-year-old man singing some of those songs.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like you don't want to be that. You want to cross over somewhere. It's like 50 Cent now. He's got G Unit Productions. He's like helping make TV shows and stuff. And Ice Cube, another great. I mean, this was he was a part of NWA, guys. I mean, you know what I mean? They made F the Police, all this kind of stuff. And now,
but we learned the other day that Chameleonaire is now in real estate and investing and all this stuff.
Yes, you can. You know what I'm saying? You can only rap for so long before you're gonna lose your luster. Now, Snoop Dogg's into all kinds of stuff. You have to cross over somehow.
We get Trill Burgers in Houston.
Trill Burgers with exactly. Bun B. You got to figure out your crossover because you cannot be a grandfather and start to rapping like Too Short. That ain't good. My wife loved Too Short. That's how I knew she was the one for me. She was like, "Oh, Too Short's my favorite." I was like, "You like Too Short?" Ugh, wow, that's how you know like she's been exposed to some stuff. But there you go. So Ice Cube crossed over, good for him. And now he's gonna make the last of the Friday franchise movies. Also, something else there. Do you I don't know? Do you eat fast food?
Yes.
You go to fast food places a lot.
Really?
Well, no. Some people it doesn't mean you eat a lot of fast food, but yes, I don't eat that much fast food. I kind of stopped. Chick-fil-A is probably the only fast food I eat. But I don't know. So I don't know about the AI. Basically all of the AI order system now that they have at all the fast food restaurants, the voice automated AI system that you order at now, because apparently a lot of drive-thrus have gone to this. McDonald's is saying that they're getting rid of their AI voice automated ordering system. They said it doesn't work. Basically, the AI system gets it wrong like half the time. That they're not very good at taking orders.
No.
So they've gotten crazy orders like hundreds of chicken nuggets. Basically, people are screaming out stuff to the I guess the voice automated system, and it's interpreting it how it interprets it, and then it just gets the order all screwed up.
Yeah,
like, and this stuff is going viral basically.
No, so I imagine, especially once people know what it is, they're just gonna start saying whatever, and then.
And that's probably people probably screwing with the AI system as well. That also can be part of it.
Man.
But McDonald's is like,
dude,
it's not worth.
You gotta get the apps and the website. You just order it, and then you just go pick it up. And then you have to wait lines and stuff. And that's the way. That's the way to do it.
And you get like points for that too.
You do get points, but the points is depressing because then like I don't like it when it's like you've earned 400. I'm like, I don't want to know that I got that. That's how bad I am. I don't need to know that.
But adding it up, you were like, how could I? Why am I a gold customer now? Why am I platinum plus? And it's like
you've earned a heart attack. Have fun.
No, you're right about that. Yeah, I guess the points can be depressing. But yeah, other places like Checkers and Hardee's and Wendy's and Taco Bell, they still have the automated system. But your neighborhood McDonald's, they're getting rid of it. They're like, it's way too much damn trouble. All right, we come back. We'll get into the latest hire from on the staff of the Texas football team is in the personnel department. Longtime scout, longtime personnel man at the college and the pro level. We'll talk about what that means for the Longhorns. Also, we'll get into the JJ Redick media availability. He was presented to the media as the head coach of the Lakers for the first time, and I thought he showed some swagger. I think he was trying to project a certain image. We'll talk about whether it came across to my man Patrick, who's a big NBA fan. And also we got Raj around the day. We'll talk about man beaters, the best man beaters in the league. And the best man beater wants to get paid. A lot of straight cash, homie. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Favors coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a top of the charts Tuesday. That's when my co-host, the Idealionaire, Patrick Davis, comes up with the musically themed days of the week. And top of the charts Tuesday is when he plays jams that reach the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. And today, especially, he is celebrating with some of the more questionable top of the charts Tuesday hits. The chart toppers are the most questionable chart toppers. And I will say, I'm going to question you, Patrick. This is a jam, man.
This is not
This
the
is the
jam.
jam.
This is not
This
the
is
jam.
the jam. Come on,
Name
man.
who
This
it
is
is.
the jam.
Name who it is.
I know it's like Lisa something.
It is. It is
And her
Lisa,
group.
Lisa, and Colt Jam.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
not
No,
jam.
that
I know
didn't-
I know it's somebody's jams out there, but yeah, we're
But no,
going
it
there.
does jam. This was on a lot of movies back in the day too.
It sounds like it's on a bunch of movies.
It was on like a couple of movies, like soundtrack wise. I remember that too. No, this was actually the songs you played today. This is easily.
This is not. No, I agree.
Best
This is
of the
not.
most
This is the
questionable
best of the most questionable. I can give you
Yes.
that.
Yeah,
As we get into
that's
the
what I will
80s,
say.
there's not necessarily as many like the 80s and 90s. You get into a lot more, and some of the questionable ones again are ballads. Like they're really,
Yeah.
really awful ballads, and I can't play those as intros because they take forever as intros, and so there's some that you'd stay away from because they just don't work as well. That one is just Lisa,
Yeah.
Lisa, and Colt Jam, just doing a
No, I'm with you.
awkward
No,
song.
it's
It's
like I
very
said,
80s. It's very of the time.
yes. There you go. I would say it's better than any of the jams we played so far. I think, but still, I don't know if it's worth it being number one. What year was it?
It was number 187, I believe.
Then it had to be better stuff out in '87 than that. But like you said, I don't know how long it stayed at number one either. That's also a question about how long it stays there. It's a different conversation. Like if it stays at number one for a long time, then we got a problem. It's like, come on, guys, nothing was able to compete with it. Why did it stay? Why was it a questionable number one hit and able to stay there?
Just
for
own
weeks
the
at a time?
charts, let's say.
Yes, that's the question. So, all right, I can see you getting there, but staying there is a whole different thing. All right, there you go. So thanks, my man Patrick, hooking us up on a top of the charts Tuesday. Questionable chart toppers on a top of the charts Tuesday. Also, he comes up and, but by the way, this the topic for the big fat poll today, man. People are like, I think you're up to like 120 something votes, and 40% of them, they believe that the the most, I would say, duplicitous and diabolical of the options is right now the most popular in the big fat poll today. Topic is who will be the next head coach for Texas baseball. I mean, Patrick wants to know if you think it's any of the four choices, and if it's not, you can leave your own suggestion in the comments below. But Jim Schlossnagle, Tony Vitello, Troy Tulowitzki, and other are your choices. And Jim Schlossnagle is running away with this damn thing.
He's
40% of it.
He's beating out other, which is a lot of people.
Wow.
There's a lot of
Wow.
people, and he's beating that one out. I do like. There's 22 hours left in this poll. I'm hoping we have a coach before the 22 hours is over.
Yeah, I mean, it was 40 minutes from now. Around 40 minutes from now is when the news broke. Right?
Yeah.
Yesterday, it was around 9:50 or something. I can go back and look at Kirk Bowles' tweet though. That's the first thing. But so we'll be at 24 hours here pretty soon. And I wonder in that 24, if that's when you get it, or is it, in a 48-hour period? But I'm with you. I think it happens relatively quick. Yeah, Kirk Bowles' tweet, 9:45. He tweeted out at 9:45. Seems like it might have been a scheduled tweet to come out exactly at 9:45.
Knew this was happening.
But so 9:45. So yeah, in 35 minutes, 34 minutes now. That'll be your 24-hour window. And it's my man CV reminded us Herman's firing and then the hiring of Sark was within 24 hours. That was on the same day. So it was on the same day, but this is not the same day, but still within that 24-hour window. So a lot of Longhorn fans believe that, man, CDC is going to pull the ultimate gangster move. In the first year going into the SEC, you take your hated and bitter rivals' only coach to lead them to a championship game appearance since 1939. Wow. Like I said, that would be some Nino Brown, Kaiser Sose, Heath Ledger's Joker, old dog type diabolical genius stuff going on there, man. If he's able to do that, that'd be some real gangster stuff to go into their neighborhood and then basically steal their coach. It's like moving into your rival's neighborhood and banging their wife. It's personal at that point. And I think, like I said, the paranoia that, and by the way, I can't even say it's paranoia because essentially their paranoia would be confirmed. Like I can't call them paranoid if Texas ends up stealing the coach. We call them paranoid. It's like Texas did steal the coach. They were right in their paranoia. They were justified to be paranoid and freaking out. So I can't even call them paranoid if Texas steals the coach. I just got to call it by Texas. That's the ultimate coup d'etat. Like that's like I said, that ends the rap beat. That is the hit 'em up. That is the athletic equivalent of Tupac's hit 'em up or Kendrick Lamar, Not Like Us. Like it's it. Like there's no real response that is, in my opinion, that A&M can have other than beating Texas in football when they play this upcoming season. There would be no response that would be on that level.
All right, by the way, Texas fans, we're starting a rumor right now that if PK does not perform well enough as a DC for Texas this year, that Texas is going to go after Mike Elko as their new defensive coordinator. Start the rumor. We're just trying to rile up Aggie fans a little bit more.
Oh, man. I mean, if they do this, then they probably would start thinking about some crazy stuff like them taking their head coach. Why wouldn't you go that route? I don't think the Aggies going to let this happen. If indeed that is, if he's the guy, the Aggies are about to, this bidding war is about to be absurd.
Well, let's put it clear. If Schwarzenegger wants to go to Texas, or if he's coming to Texas, which again, that's a huge, gigantic if. But if he is, it's not about money. Like he's going to get paid at Texas, but he wants to leave because he can get the money there too. So he wouldn't even necessarily entertain the offer. He's like, well, I know I can just go to A&M and say, I've got you further, I got you closer, or I did win you a title, and here's all the money, and give us you. A&M has money. They're not lacking for that. So no. If he was leaving, it would have to be some other reason why he'd want to leave. Right? Am I crazy in that?
I'm with you. I don't think money would basically. I think from Texas and Texas A&M, that wouldn't be the biggest factor because I think either one could offer.
Yeah, either one can make him the highest paid coach in college baseball.
Either one could offer top dollar.
So yeah, so I think he understands that well enough. It would be more of I want another challenge, or something's wrong, or my family, or whatever it is that he wanted. I have no idea, but that would be. It would have to be something like that. That would be the factor into it, other than just money. Because A&M could walk back and they say, well, they're going to pay me $4 million a year, make me the highest paid coach. They go, cool, 4.5, no problem, done.
They'll cancel each other out. It'll be other factors. But also that's even more devastating.
I know.
Texas, if you're in Texas A&M and you get money whipped by Texas, okay, yeah, all right, hurts your pride a little bit, but everybody knows Texas got more. Hell, what did Red McComb say? They got more money than everybody except the Catholic Church. Do you realize how much money the Catholic Church has? Do you realize how much money the Catholic Church has to make a comment like that?
They have their own country.
Their own city, exactly. The Vatican, it's theirs.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But no, so obviously I always throw it out there in jest. So it's no real. I don't think you need to be hurt. Your pride should be hurt about losing a money battle in Texas. But for him to leave, like you said, if the money cancels each other out, and it's about the culture of the program, the community, it's about the tradition of those programs. He's saying, no, Texas is just better. And honestly, it ain't really about the money. And it's like, I think they're hoping that it's about the money. Because if he just says, I'm leaving because it's just better, they're better than you. That's not what Aggies want to face. Is that, oh no, the program is better, the tradition better. It's a better life to be the head coach at Texas for this program rather than be the head coach at A&M. Period.
Yeah.
On all levels. Take the money aside. So like I said, either way, it's gonna be really traumatizing if it indeed happens.
If it indeed
Aggies, I'm rooting for y'all. I don't want y'all to be that traumatized because, like I said, the amount of trauma they're gonna have, bro, you have no idea. It's gonna be, to me, this is the pressing the red button. This is you're gonna take this rivalry to a nuclear level now, and it's about to get real petty and personal because that was petty on the part of CDC to release it when he did. And by the way, I support the petty, but now it's going from petty to personal when you take their coach. That's personal. That's personal, man. Take somebody coach like that. That's personal. Your rivals coach like that. Woo. Like I said, and by the way, I'm happy that CDC is working for us. He's on our side. I don't want that. I don't want to work with anybody else with having this kind of mentality. This is like some Mamba stuff. This is Mamba mentality stuff by CDC. All right. And like I said, I am here for it. Damn. If you're an Aggie today, it's got to be tough. That's just tough, man, to deal with that. Your first appearance in a championship game in a major sport since 1939. And this is the story. Think about that. Even if it's not Schlossnagle, you didn't even get a chance to bask in the afterglow of this monumental accomplishment. Because now you got to deal with the pettiness of your rival who decided, oh, you know what? I think we're going to steal the headlines and limelight from the Aggies. Just one more game. Ain't nothing wrong with that. And like I said, in the end, it might just be somebody out of left field, got nothing to do with any of this. And CDC's in the back like Mr. Burns. Excellent. He's like, this is great. Everybody's talking about the Longhorns. Nobody's talking about the Aggies getting to their first championship game since, as my friend would say, since Hitler was considered a cool dude.
85 years?
Right?
Is that math correct? 85 years?
It's so long. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because you're right.
85 years.
It's a long time, man.
It's a long
and they should be giving out stats about how cool that is and how next year
and the future is bright and
they're the best. They're the best baseball program in the state now, and that's not it. That's not the conversation we're having. So to me, it's a hell of a coup anyway for CDC. Even if you don't get the coach, man, look how you just stole the spotlight and stole the, basically they always say if you don't like what people are saying, change the conversation. I mean, Texas went from having to fire David Pierce, now they've kind of stolen the entire conversation about college baseball now. Like the national big story. It's not even about Tennessee, it's about Texas Vegas.
Well, and it's not even about firing their coach. It's literally about who they're gonna hire.
Yeah, we should be talking about why they firing their coach. Well, because Texas plateaued and regressed. And we're not talking about that.
They lost to Louisiana and got knocked out of the regional. Nope. Yep. No.
So let's talk about that. Longhorn fans are giddy. Like you said, everybody's like excited about what's going to happen. And the just the confidence that, oh no, we're going to get the best. We're going to get our top choice. We'll get our top choice. And our top choice happens to be your coach. Of your hated rival. I cannot wait to see how this plays out. I cannot wait. Hopefully it happens before the show is done. If not, still we'll be talking about it. All right, there you go. That's the topic for the Big Fat Poll of the day. A lot of you out there, close to half of y'all believe Jim Schlossnagle will be the next head coach at the University of Texas. All right, before we move on, we're going to discuss, first of all, J.J. Redick being introduced to the media. We got some audio cuts we're going to play of that. Also, Texas football hiring a long-time personnel man. This guy's been in scouting and recruiting, coaching for gotta be 50 years now, close to it. So we'll get into that and talk about what he is going to do on that Texas staff. We'll get into that, but also we'll also have Rod's rant. That's man beaters, the best man beaters in the league. If we have to, we'll push that to next segment. So let's get updated, educated, and informed on all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn Headlines.
All right, Horn Headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas baseball parted ways with head coach David Pierce yesterday after 8 seasons with the team. The decision comes a few weeks after Texas was unable to advance past the regional round. Both Chris Del Conte and David Pierce have stated that the parting was a mutual decision in statements made on Monday. Pierce was hired from Tulane in 2016 to replace legendary coach Augie Garrido and finished his time with Texas going 295 and 162, winning 3 Big 12 championships and making 3 trips to the College World Series. Texas will now look to find a new head coach, hoping to find someone who can help Texas challenge in the SEC. In the NBA, the Cleveland Cavaliers hired Golden State assistant Kenny Atkinson as their next head coach. Atkinson, who spent the last 3 seasons as an assistant for the Warriors, was last a head coach for the Nets from 2016 to 2020, and was a lead candidate for the Hornets job a year ago before removing his name from the running. The Timberwolves also made a coaching move, securing their head coach Chris Finch with a 4-year extension, keeping under contract until the 2027-28 season. Finch has gone 160 and 127 in 4 years in Minnesota and grown a team that is now considered one of the top teams in the West. Detroit is now the only team without a head coach after firing Monty Williams late last week. In Major League Baseball, the Astros will begin their series with the Rockies today, trying to extend their 5-game winning streak. Hunter Brown will get the call for the Astros after pitching a solid 6 innings in his last outing. And the Rangers dropped game 1 of their series to the Brewers 6-3 yesterday. Reese Hoskins hit a grand slam in the 6th inning and never looked back as Milwaukee's bullpen held the Rangers to only 1 hit for the final 3 innings. Andrew Heaney will take the mound for the Rangers today, hoping to turn around what has not been a great season for him, as he is only 2-8 so far this year. That is your Horn headlines.
All right, Patrick, thank you for the Horn headlines. We appreciate those. First, let's talk about the latest hire for the Texas football team. They hired Bill Reese. For those who don't know, he's a long time NFL college football scout and recruiting coordinator. Like I said, his resume is actually tough to find. You won't find it like on Wikipedia with the breakdown of everywhere he's been. So kind of the piecemeal things together. So he was most recently at Notre Dame. He was at Notre Dame for more than half a decade. And prior to his time there at Notre Dame, like I said, he was there for like half a decade. He spent time in other colleges at Wake Forest with Dave Clawson. He also spent some time at Northwestern, where he originally, I think, graduated at Northwestern. So you want to start there. He got his master's at Northwestern, and that's really where he began his coaching career. That was 1976. He was a grad assistant at Northwestern, then served 1 year as an assistant coach for the Northwestern Wildcats. This was in 78. I'm going to give you the quick rundown here. Then he earned his master's degree at Northwestern in 77. And then from Northwestern, he went to UCLA. So he went from basically being an assistant coach at Northwestern to being the assistant coach and recruiting coordinator at UCLA for 15 years, from 79 to 94. And then after 94, he went to the NFL. He went to the NFL with the Kansas City Chiefs, served as an area scout for them, a regional scout for them from 94 to 97. He was director of college scouting for the Bears from 97 to 2001. Also worked for the 49ers, director of college scouting and director of player personnel for the 49ers from 01 to 04. Director of player personnel and college scouting for the Cleveland Browns 04 to 08. And then went back to the Chiefs as a college scout for them for 08 and 09. And I believe 2010 is when you see him go to Northwestern. I believe a little bit after that, he goes to Wake Forest, and then he goes to Notre Dame. I could have missed a stop here or there. Like I said, I didn't have like the exact breakdown, and it's hard to find just kind of a straight resume of all of this stuff. But that's where he's been. But you're talking about somebody who's been coaching since the late 70s. So you're talking about damn near 50 years of recruiting, scouting, and coaching experience at the highest level of college football. You're talking about some very respectable program, Notre Dame, of course, but Northwestern and Wake Forest and UCLA, and then going to the NFL, working with the 49ers and the Bears and the Kansas City Chiefs. So I don't know what exactly he's going to do. Remember, Texas lost one of their vital pieces in their personnel department. Now they have a real NFL personnel department because they have a general manager. Brandon Harris is their general manager. And remember, they lost Bobby Merritt. He was probably in the top 3 most important coaches, most important pieces in your personnel department. Prior to him leaving, he left Texas to be the general manager at Rice. And now you just need another personnel scout, a recruiting coordinator in there. And I believe that's what Bill Reese is going to do. He is the son of Tommy Reese, who is now the tight ends coach with the Browns.
Tommy Reese.
So he's the father of Tommy. Excuse me. He's the father of Tommy Reese, who is now with the Browns as their tight ends coach. So he was obviously, he was with the Bama staff. He was their offensive coordinator in Nick Saban's last year, and now he's in the NFL. So he knows ball. Been a on-field coach. He has been a recruiting coordinator and been a scout. So you can put him in the personnel department, let him go work on the transfer portal. You can put him in the recruiting and have him be a recruiting coordinator and do more traditional scouting. He can scout opponents because he was a scout. So he can scout opponents. He can scout your recruiting basically your targets for the next upcoming recruiting class or your transfer recruiting class. You can do self-scouting. He can actually help you self-scout and kind of look at some of the different issues that you may have. You probably can put them on special projects, just give them a special project to do. So a guy with almost 50 years of NFL and college coaching experience, I mean, possibilities are endless in terms of what he can do. I think he's going to end up taking Bobby Merritt's position and whatever that role was with the new personnel department with the Longhorns. So there you go. That's the latest hire, Bill Reese, being hired on the staff as a recruiter and a scout. And we'll probably learn more about his role and his responsibility there with the Longhorns probably later on this month or next time Sark speaks to the media. Okay, let's get to this other story. I'm going to talk about JJ Redick because we got a couple of pieces of audio of JJ Redick being introduced to the media. And he was speaking to the media about a number of different topics. But the first cut we're going to play, and I believe that the question is in here, is JJ Redick being asked about trying to, dispel some of the negative perceptions about him. Listen to how JJ Redick answers this specific question.
What misconceptions or concerns about you that you've heard in the last few weeks are you the most looking forward to dispelling when you're the coach?
It's a valid question, and I've certainly heard everything. It's been a really interesting 6 weeks or so, just in terms of being part of the engagement farming industry. It's been really interesting. However, I don't really have a great answer for your question because I really don't give a honestly. I want to coach the Lakers. I want to coach the team. I don't want to dispel anything. I don't. I want to become a great coach in the NBA, and I want to win championships, and I want my players to maximize their careers. That's all I care about.
All right, there you go. Got to drop a couple of bombs, let people know how you really felt there, JJ Redick. And you told me, Pat, that's kind of part of his personality. That's not disingenuous, totally, of him to go up there with that type of, swagger, if you will.
No, I mean, if anybody remembers his playing days back at Duke, he was one of the most hated players in college basketball because he had that bravado and had that attitude when he was there. If we remember the series they did, or the 30 for 30, the I Hate Christian Laettner. Do you remember that? JJ Redick was kind of the second guy of that, or he was one of the many in the line of white guys at Duke that everybody hated in college basketball. So he's been that guy. He's been that guy in his career in the NBA that he's never backed away from anybody. And I mean, a lot of it he's spent as a shooter and kind of as a secondary guy. So it wasn't necessarily he was always getting all the attention, but he never backed away. And it's one of the reasons why he could walk into the broadcasting and podcasting world so easily after playing was he does not mind saying a controversial take. He does not mind putting himself out there to be ridiculed. He just doesn't really care about any of that. So that feels very genuine of what he's saying there is I've done it my entire career. You guys have said I suck and you hate me and you've looked up my family's names to critique me and everything else. So I get it. I'm used to it. I've been doing it for 20 years now.
Yeah. No, like I said, he seemed like he seemed confident. He projected confidence.
Yeah.
Which is something you got to do. He also, speaking of being disingenuous, he may have been authentic there, but I believe he was being a bit disingenuous answering this next question about him and LeBron and how much communication they've had. Here's JJ Redick.
That you have a very close relationship with LeBron. He could have done a podcast with anybody in the world. He chose to do it with you. What was his advice to you throughout this whole coaching search process?
He didn't provide any advice. LeBron and I did not talk about the Lakers job until Thursday afternoon, about 30 minutes after I was offered the job. And that was very intentional on both our parts. I knew I had an understanding that he did not want to be involved in this. And for me, I didn't want to go down the path of hypotheticals with someone that I consider a friend and someone that I have a great amount of respect for. So for us, it just came down to literally Thursday afternoon. And I talked to him for about 15, 20 minutes and got off the phone. That was it.
Yeah, I don't know if the person in the background was actually groaning at the response by JJ Redick, but the timing was impeccable.
I want to listen to that. I'm just going to listen to that part again real quick. I just want to see exactly how it is because it's great.
Until Thursday afternoon.
I think it was in response to it. Like,
I didn't talk to him until Thursday afternoon. Nah, it's not true.
Exactly, because the timing was too perfect. Because nobody believes that, by the way. JJ Redick, he probably needs to say it, but nobody believes that.
I brought up the story earlier. Rich Paul said this when he was talking about Bronny James and answering a bunch of questions because he's managing Bronny James, he's managing LeBron. All these questions are being asked, and he was explaining why Bronny wasn't doing workouts with everybody and all of that. And he was asked a question about LeBron wanting to play with Bronny, and he said that's not a thing. That's he wants that, he wanted that, but he's not as concerned. He's going to decide where he goes, and Bronny goes where he goes. And if we wanted the Lakers to draft Bronny, we would just make the Lakers do it. And they kind of went off, and everyone went, whoa. But you said you don't do that.
But you could do that? You have that? What?
You said that very much like you knew how to do it.
Yeah, like you had done it before or something like that. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, LeBron wants people to think that, he does it. He's not a puppeteer behind the scenes, but I think we all know better. And something JJ Redick also was asked about was building a coaching staff. I think this actually was a pretty smart way to answer this question, or at least if he's telling the truth, I like his response to it when he was asked about the coaching staff later on. Here's JJ Redick.
Spectrum. Rob talked about the fact he'd like to see some experienced head coaches here. I know you're going to have a big say in that. What are you looking for when you're filling that bench more than anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I will have the say of who our coaching staff is, but that doesn't mean Rob and I are not collaborating on literally every single position, right? Like, I think that was one of the big things for me during this process was just like, how are we going to do the staff? And it is essentially a blank slate. And we are completely aligned in that the front of bench should have experience. We definitely want at least a couple former head coaches in the NBA there. Behind the bench, we want young, hungry, innovative, fresh, self-doers, self-motivated. That's what we want behind the bench. And there's got to be that balance. I will talk. You'll hear me talk about duality all the time. Like, I want that duality. I do. In terms of the voice, right? In terms of the disagreement or the yes men, like, I certainly want people to disagree with me. I certainly want to have conversations about strategy, game planning, where there is disagreement and we can talk through it. The key part is that there is one voice, right? That if I say it and then an assistant coach goes and delivers the message, it's me saying it, right? I think that's the big part. So there has to be a level of trust, collaboration, all that stuff. But
there you go. That's JJ Redick. And I think that's a smart move. He basically wants people that are going to disagree with him, healthy, conversation, different ideas thrown into the mix. He knows he doesn't have the answers. How could he? Doesn't have any coaching experience. So smart. That's a smart move. I'm glad he's approaching it with humility.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about this a little bit the other day that, that's probably what makes the most sense is, you want to bring in young guys because you don't want to be the only guy in the room where you kind of get talked down to at a point and you're put in position of everyone else telling you the way it's done. You want to have some people bring out fresh ideas and have those people that agree with you when you're trying to change the system. But you also need the other ones. There's just day-to-day stuff that you're probably not as fully used to when it's your first time at any coaching level of, making sure that the equipment staff and all of that is doing their job and making sure everybody's on the same page and how you contact people and how you keep in touch. All those things that, may seem mundane until you're trying to figure out how to do them. And if you don't have anybody on your staff who's ever done it, it becomes a lot harder to figure out.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. All right, we'll come back. We'll get Rod's rant in, and we'll talk about some of the best man beaters and the best man beater in the league. He wants to get paid like it. We'll talk about that and more right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn Rod Vapors. Coming back on the Horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into some football conversation. I was just looking at a Pro Football Focus article ranking the top receivers against man and zone coverage in the NFL. And the NFL is playing more zone coverage. Zone coverage is easier for receivers to get open. I mean, zone coverage is what it is. You usually don't have a defender that is tracking you the entire play. So you have different defenders around you, either covering a zone or covering an area or covering you for a while, passing you off to another zone. So you just have more space, right? Just have more freedom as a wide receiver. And truth is, most defenses don't have enough elite coverage defenders. You call cover one, everybody's playing cover one. Yeah, your best DB's playing cover one. You like that. Then everybody's in cover one, especially your weakest coverage linebacker and your weakest coverage safety. They're all in cover one. So the truth is, most defenses don't have enough dogs in their back seven that all of them can play man coverage and all of them can lock down in man coverage. Some teams got that many, but those are the best defenses in the NFL. And at the college and the pro level, you just don't see enough elite coverage specialists. So that's why they don't play as much man coverage. They play more zone coverage. And if you can, but man is ultimately, even Nick Saban will say this, man coverage is the best defense in football, period. Problem is, not everybody can do it. Everybody has the physical gifts to be able to play man-to-man coverage. It's one of the hardest things to do in football, to play sticky coverage like that. And if you do have one guy that can do it, chances are you ain't got 5 or 6. So somebody back there going to get left on an island and somebody's going to get exposed. So that's why teams don't play a ton of it, but they play it situationally. In the red zone is where you see the most man. Man, everybody plays man in the red zone. Closer you get to the end zone, everybody's playing man coverage. Nobody's playing zone really in the red zone as much because too many windows, too many wide open windows. Can't do that. And you're wasting defenders. Nah, everything happens quicker in the red zone. Field shrinks, so there's less field for defenders to have to defend. So anybody can play man, not anybody, but even a subpar average man coverage defender can play better man in the red zone because I ain't got to worry about the deep ball behind me, and I got they got limited space to work with. And so even more so, wide receivers that can win against man, DBs that can play man, y'all get paid. Because just everybody can't do it. And even some of the best wide receivers, they're not great versus man. Deebo Samuel traditionally is terrible versus man. Like, that's why they move him around so much. That's why he's so unique. You can't just go trade for Deebo because Deebo's an all-pro receiver with the 49ers. He works with them because they move him around. They put him in the backfield. They put him in slide. He's in motion a lot. They give him the football so he can be a yak daddy and get easy yards, a lot of targets behind or at the line of scrimmage. But he didn't just go downfield and win. That's not Deebo's game. That's like Brandon Ayuk's game, but not Deebo's game. So every receiver is a little bit different. So they were listed based on their metrics, the best man beaters in the league. The number one man beater in the NFL, CeeDee Lamb. Nobody is better at beating man coverage than CeeDee Lamb, period. No receiver was targeted more in 2023 than CeeDee Lamb, 197 total targets, but he faced single coverage on a little over 35% of his snaps. So close to a third of his targets were against man coverage. Third highest rate of man coverage faced in the league by a receiver, but he dominated it. 150.4 passer rating when targeted. That's the best passer rating in the league when targeted in man coverage. Also, Lamb led all receivers in catches, yards, touchdowns, missed tackles forced, and first downs gained against man coverage. 49 receptions, 810 yards, 7 touchdowns, 10 forced missed tackles, and 37 first downs. So you have 49 receptions, but 37 of them being first downs. That dude's cooking against man coverage. 7.2 yards after the catch per reception. That finished. That was second, and he was second in yards per route run against man coverage at 4.35. And that's why he's going to get paid big money. And you could argue he was better against man coverage last year than Justin Jefferson was. And Justin Jefferson is the best all-around wide receiver, but you can make the argument that when you got to face man coverage, you'd rather have CD than Justin Jefferson. You can make that argument based on the stats. The second best receiver against man coverage, Nico Collins, based on Pro Football Focus rankings. Yeah, your two best man beaters in the league are CeeDee Lamb and Nico Collins. They got CeeDee Lamb as a 94 overall grade versus man coverage. They got Nico Collins with a 92 overall grade versus man coverage. He caught 25 receptions, 399 yards, 3 touchdowns versus man in 2023. He finished first in yards per route run, 4.43, and averaged 6.7 yards after the catch, had only one drop against man coverage last season. And out of his, how about this though, in terms of the conversion ratio, like how often his passes against man coverage are converted into first downs, he's got 25 receptions against man coverage and 19 first downs gained against man coverage on receptions. That's a pretty good success rate. 137.6 passer rating when target against man coverage. So he's legit. The rest of this list, DJ Moore, Brandon Ayuk, and AJ Brown. Brandon Ayuk is unique too because Brandon Ayuk gets more man coverage than a lot of other teams do. He gets exposed to it in man coverage because the 49ers machinery of multiplicity, their malleable machinery of multiplicity that they have with all these movable chess pieces. Debo can play receiver and play running back. Christian McCaffrey play running back and play receiver. George Kittle can play fullback, H-back, tight end, and you can split them out. You can flex them. You can put them in the slot. And then you got Juszczyk, who can play fullback, play tailback. You put them at H-back. You can put them at tight end. You put them in the slot. So all of their pieces are movable chess pieces, which makes them really tough to defend. Most teams will have multiple defenders keying those players on certain plays because if Debo ends up in the backfield, motions out to the slot, he in the backfield, I'll probably have a linebacker covering him if he's coming out of the backfield or a safety. But if he's in the slot, I'll probably have a slot corner covering him. So I need two defenders keying him, changing up responsibilities depending on where he is. Same thing with Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey's in the slot. I probably want a safety or a corner covering him. He's in the backfield. All right, I think maybe my linebacker handle, but I probably like my safety on him there. But still, multiple defenders got a key on them. Same thing can be said for Juszczyk. Same thing can be said for Kittle. But once, as a defender, I constructed my game plan around defending all of these, these cogs of multiplicity within this malleable machinery that Shanahan has built. Well, I can't afford to be rolling coverage or doubling Brandon Ayuk. He just gonna get man coverage, period. And that's why he recorded the lowest target rate against man coverage in the league last year, only 25%. Of his targets were versus man, but he was fifth in receiving yards versus man coverage and 3.2 yards per route run. So how about this? He caught 23 passes versus man coverage last year. 21 of them converted into first downs. So they stick him out there in man coverage, and most defenses, they just don't have the bandwidth or the personnel or the resources to pay attention to all of the problems that the 49ers present to you with their multiplicity. And then, oh yeah, I got to roll coverage and I got to, double team Brandon Ayuk. It ain't possible. So he gets a lot of man coverage. And by the way, the reason he wants out of San Fran is because San Fran is really not necessarily the money. It is the money, but he doesn't believe he is getting showcased in the manner in which will add value to his contract. Right? Because how about this? Brandon Ayuk, since they traded for Christian McCaffrey, the 49ers throw the ball at the worst, basically the 32nd rate in the NFL. They throw the ball the least of any team in the league since they traded for Christian McCaffrey. They only pass 51% of the time on offense, and they've only called 1,643 plays offensively since acquiring Christian McCaffrey. If you want to compare that to Justin Jefferson, who's the number one receiver in the league right now, a lot of people's estimations, he's being paid like it. The Minnesota Vikings were number 2 in pass rate, 66% of the time. They were number 4 in total offensive snaps at over 1,800 offensive snaps. His system, it devalues him too because they just don't throw the ball a lot. They don't throw it. It's a Shanahan running zone blocking running game. They don't throw the ball a lot. So if he goes to another system, he believes that his numbers will drastically, exponentially improve, and he will be on par with a CeeDee Lamb or a Justin Jefferson because his numbers will reflect that in a system that throws the ball more and weaponizes him. He believes that system that the 49ers have, they don't weaponize him. They just put him out there as a man beater, which he is, and he's one of the best in the league at it.
Yeah, and then again, and that too is not always just money, but you also want to be recognized as the best, and you want the fame that goes along with being the best. That if you are the number 3 option, number 4 option on your team, when people say in San Francisco, whether it's true or not, McCaffrey's going to be the guy, and then everybody loves George Kittle, and then Deebo Samuel is the number 1 wide receiver. So your number 4 option on the offense, his fame might be a little bit less than if you go somewhere where you can be the number one guy and the ball's going to me, and now I can, achieve what I wanted to achieve in the game.
I totally agree with you. Yep. And to round out, before we get out of here, to round out the list, so CeeDee Lamb number 1 versus man. CeeDee Lamb number 1, Nico Collins 2, DJ Moore 3, Brandon Ayuk 4, and AJ Brown at 5. Versus zone coverage, Tyreek Hill, Tyreek Hill's number 1, Jalen Waddle's number 2, Amon-Ra St. Brown's number 3, Justin Jefferson is number 4, and Puka Nacua is at number 5. Yeah, against zone coverage. All right, there you go. Wrapping up our Raj rant for the day. We come back. We'll play Who Said That. That's when Patrick plays little pieces of audio, and based on the recall, familiarity of the voice, maybe just context clues involved in the audio, you're supposed to be able to identify who said that. We'll play that when we come back right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Coming back on the Horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. Top of the Charts Tuesday. That's usually when my man Patrick plays some jams that reach the top of the Billboard's charts on this day in history. But today is special because he's only playing the questionable chart toppers on Top of the Charts Tuesday. Here's another questionable one, too. What is this one? What is this?
This is Richard Marx doing Satisfied.
Yeah. It sounds like a soundtrack song. Sounds like it should be in like a cheesy movie.
It does. It sounds not great. And then what really got me is the name of the album.
What is it?
Repeat Offender.
Wow.
Oh.
Repeat Offender.
Oh,
that did not age well.
What an awful album title.
Yeah, it's not that didn't age well.
And you could have that if it were like you were somewhat cool in music, but if this is what you're playing, you can't be like, I've jaywalked multiple times.
Yo, seriously, you got no edge at all, but you're a repeat offender. Like, what? No. I agree with you. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a strange journey, man, going through the most questionable chart toppers.
By the way, these are all questionable chart toppers in this day in history. We could have gone number one, or just whatever, and then we could have found some really screwy, weird ones. This is literally, these were all hits on this day in history still.
Okay. Great point. Yeah, so you see, you still stick to
there's limited I could choose from in that. I could only choose the years that we've had, but that still was enough to find some questionable
I didn't realize
ones.
that. I thought you expanded the search, so it was only this day in history.
Only this day in history still.
Wow.
Still fit the theme, but I went, instead of trying to find the best songs that do that, I went the other direction. Yes.
Yeah. So the Candyman what was the first one? What was it? Yamasuki or what was that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have to
something
go
like
back
that.
and look at it again.
I forgot what it
Sukiyaki.
was.
Sukiyaki.
Sukiyaki. There you go. All right, there you go, my man Patrick. Always bringing the heat, especially on the top of the charts Tuesday. Appreciate that. Also, go check out the Horns X account, and you can go take part in the poll for the big fat poll of the day. Pretty simple one. Who will be the next head coach for Texas baseball? That's what Patrick wants to know. And if you don't like the options, you can go leave your own suggestion in the comments below. But Jim Schlossnagle, Tony Vitello, Troy Tulowitzki, and other are your options. And Jim Schlossnagle lost a little bit of momentum, now at 39%. Patrick, so only 39%.
People are losing steam as the day goes on.
Yeah, and Vitello's maybe catching up a little bit. He's at 19% now.
Okay.
So when it's all said, but other is at 27%. So I think the second most popular option here is other. If they don't get Schlossnagle, like some Longhorn fans believe, they're going to go in another direction. All right, so go check that out at the Horn ATX. Time for Who Said That? That's when Patrick plays pieces of audio from the sports world, sometimes beyond the sports world, and based on the context clues, based on the familiarity of the voice, hopefully you can recall and identify who said that.
For any other recruits that are out there on the fence about joining you in the next couple of years, what's your message to them?
It would be that there's something special going on in Austin. I mean, if they want to, they can come check it out themselves. I'll hopefully be able to meet them while they're there. But for me, I'm trying to build the best class of 2026 recruiting classes in the country. So I won't stop until I do that. And it's all gas, no brakes on the 40.
There you go. That is the latest 2026 quarterback commit, Dia Bell, for the Longhorns. Son of Raja Bell saying, hey, man, something special is happening on the 40 acres. Want to be a part of it. Yeah, I mean, Sark is stockpiling that quarterback room, and we haven't seen anything like it. And Dia Bell still, I mean, he was a baby. I mean, 2026, that means the film that I watched on, he's a sophomore in that film. He looks great. I think he's a first-time starter, too. And the first time he's focused on football, because I think before that he's playing basketball and he's like tennis and soccer and baseball. He played every sport, and I think just now he's starting to focus on that football is my passion. That's what I want to do. So think about what the ceiling could be for this young man. So there you go. That is the
but that's also Sark loves competitive people, and that's what he fits into in that world.
Very true.
Sark loves that, and Raja Bell, heck of a player. I remember him a lot because he used to play on those Suns teams. That the Spurs were feuding with for many years. So remember Raja Bell very well. It'll be weird having to like Raja Bell.
That's spoken as a true Spurs fan there. All right, thank you, Patrick, for everything you do, brother. Great job today, as always. I want to thank all the folks out there for listening. Remember, the revolution will not be televised. We're talking about it right here on the Rodcast. We love you guys. We mean that. Take care of yourselves, but more importantly, take care of each other. Until next time, same channel. We'll be back tomorrow, and we might be discussing a new Texas baseball coach. Who knows? All of that and more tomorrow. Until next time, hook 'em and peace.